to you for information, inspiration, because we're dedicated to your relationship in your life. And today is Friday.
It's Friday.
It's
Get it right.
It's Friday, folks. It's Friday, folks. And guess what? On our countdown, we are now actually 21 days.
Counting
21
down.
days
I
till
hope you're ready.
Christmas.
I hope you're
I am
ready.
excited because it's going to be a special day. It's a day for family. It's a day for fun. It's a day for gifts. It's a day to just enjoy. So we're hoping that you enjoy this holiday season. It's not just about the day, but it's about the entire season. We just came out of Thanksgiving, going into Christmas, then you have New Year's Eve, and then you have, the beginning of a new year. So it's going to be awesome.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to your face when you open your gifts.
Boom.
That's what it's all about, right, y'all? It's about giving. I think recently we had, was it like Giving Tuesday or something like that just passed? And I didn't even realize that was a thing. But guess what, guys? The giving doesn't have to stop here. If you know somebody in need, your neighbor, a friend who hasn't had a meal, we need to start looking for opportunities to bless people, right? Being blessed means that you have the opportunity to be a blessing. So look for opportunities to sow seeds into other people's life this season. That's going to really boost your energy, your enzymes, and get you feeling really good.
All right, guys. Well, you know that today is the last day of the cyber sale. So make sure you go. There's the link in the description here. You can also go to Cash App. People have been snatching up their books because they're thinking about who they can give them to and who they can read them with. So it's still available. I think the link expires today. And also this coming Monday, we're excited because we have the Matthews. They're going to be coming. They're the author of the book, Let's Fight About Money.
Yes.
They'll be with us for a two-part series talking about how to prepare for the holidays. And then once you spend up all your money, what do you do next?
If you guys have never checked out their YouTube channel or their Facebook post, y'all need to check them out. They are so phenomenal. They teach you how to manage and grow your money. That's what we need. A lot of us grew up, we tried to figure out how to make money. We figured out how to make the money, but didn't figure out how to make it multiply, grow, save, and invest into the future. So you guys want to tune into them and make sure you tune in on this, what is it, Tuesday?
It's Monday and
Tuesday. You need to make a mark a spot in your calendar so you don't miss that show.
And last but not least is the Last Chance Weekend. It's coming up next weekend, December the 11th through the 13th, 2020. People are calling, people are signing up. We have a few slots left. So if you are wondering, should we do it? The answer is absolutely yes. We would love to be able to work with you to take your relationship to the next level. And so, guys, we're talking about relationship Q&A. This is your opportunity to ask your question. Post it. We'll be right back after this quick intro.
Welcome back. Today's relationship Q&A, and this is the day that you're supposed to come on here with hundreds and thousands of questions, and you're supposed to shoot it to us like we're at a gun range and we're just hitting them back and forth and just parlaying back and forth and solving all the problems. This is your opportunity, guys. So when you come here, be prepared. But while we're waiting on the questions to come in, I'm just going to say hello to Calvin. Hey, Regina and Ray, Michelle, Angel, good to see you. Yashana, good to see you. Jaguar, Sean, Rachel, hey girl, Rhea, Tamara, I think it's my Tamara, I'm not sure, but hey Tamara, and Vashan, good to see everybody. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, hey Dee, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification button. We want as many people in the world to find out about this show so that they can start working on having powerful marriages that impact the world.
Absolutely. All right, we got the first question from Vashan. It says, I like to say that I forgave my wife, but I still snoop. What is my issue? Why do I keep torturing myself? Well, first of all, congratulations on forgiving your spouse. I think that's an incredible thing. But you have to understand, forgiving your partner and trusting your partner are two completely different things. They're not synonymous. They are not on par with one another. They don't operate at the same pace necessarily. Trust, as we've always said, is like a light switch and a dimmer all at the same time. When you lose it because of a violation, it's gone just like that. But to regain it, it happens over a period of time. And listen, the fact of the matter is, if you are going to begin to trust your partner, this is important for your partner to understand, your partner has to create a safe environment. There's got to be a level of security. Let me give you a perfect example. If I am let's just say I'm standing up, I walk towards a chair, I sit in that chair, I didn't realize that the legs were loose, and I fall, right? Now, I don't trust that this chair can uphold me. So the next time I walk over to that chair, what am I going to do? I'm going to lift the chair, I'm going to check the legs, I'm going to make sure that they're sturdy. Once I feel that I'm safe and secure, then I trust that I can sit down without falling again. Likewise, in a relationship, in order to regain trust, move forward in the trust building phase, you have to create an environment of safety and security first as the foundation, and upon that foundation, trust is developed. So I hope that makes sense, because that's the journey.
I agree. And also another point that I would add is that it sounds, first of all, you're lacking certainty. So you're not sure that you can trust your wife yet, but it does sound like you want to, because your wording is like, why do I keep torturing myself? What is the problem? What is the issue? So if you're still lacking certainty and you want to get past this, I would sit down with your wife and have a discussion about what still needs to be done so that you can begin to trust, so that you can let your guard down, because it still might be that you're still living two separate lives. Maybe she's not an open book about some things. Maybe she struggles to communicate. So whatever those issues are that have it where you still feel that uncertainty, try to work towards resolving that with her.
Absolutely. Here's another comment. Good morning. I'm 14 days from my divorce being final. How can I get my husband to recommit to our marriage? He cheated and I forgave him, but now he doesn't want to work on our marriage. Well, I would encourage you to approach him with the Last Chance Weekend. Let me just say, there are many couples who have come to us. They filed the paperwork. They're literally days away, and yet they will still do something as a last-ditch effort to see if it's possible. Because one thing about it, divorces can always be put on hold. I have clients that literally have put their divorce proceedings on hold multiple. It's a simple call. It's a simple, paperwork that's I guess administered by the attorney, and it gives you more space and more time to begin to do things. And so have a conversation with them. Ask him, is this really what you want? A lot of times the person who's filing the divorce is giving the indication that it's over, I'm done. And so the other spouse is just like, oh, well, you filed, I guess it's over. But the philosophy is it's not over until it's actually over, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you have 14 days, you have 14 different ways to turn this thing around. So one way to approach your husband is to say, listen, even though the divorce has been filed, I am willing to do what's necessary to see if it's possible for us to restore our marriage. Oftentimes we're waiting for our spouse to say something and do something, but maybe you need to take the lead on that, because it seems like this is not what you want to do. We say this all the time. So many people are living quiet lives of desperation, and they're so desperate for something that in times of desperation, they do desperate things that may not serve them, but then sometimes you got to get desperate enough to do things that do. So have a conversation, let them know what your heart is and what your mind is, what your desire is. Present this as an opportunity to be able to go through a 3-day experience that can transform and revolutionize your relationship.
Perfect. Here's another comment. Can people really change? Jaguar asked, and I'm going to say absolutely people can change. We're always changing. Matter of fact, people actually get an attitude when you do change. They usually say, you've changed. And I'm always saying, well, my response to that is, why haven't you? I think the issue is how we change, because we're all evolving. We're not stagnant. If we're not doing something to better ourselves, then we're actually digressing to a worse version of ourselves. This is why we have to eat right and work out so that we continue to maintain our health and get better. Otherwise, we get worse. So yes, you can change. There's a powerful book out there by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it's called, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Incredible book.
We have gone through that book so many times. Now, I'm going to just say, get the book and read it. Get through chapter 1. because it's quite scientific. But once you get past chapter 1, it breaks down how your brain actually needs to be trained to do things different. And that's part of what we try to assist couples in doing, is creating new habits to create new neurological pathways in our minds and our brains so that we actually naturally do things different. Change is possible. It's having a willingness to change that sets those apart from others.
Absolutely. Jeremy has a comment here. My wife says she doesn't feel safe anymore in our marriage. The trust is completely gone, so what's left? Well, listen, one of the, like, for instance, there's a couple that just came to us for a session 2 days ago, and she wants the marriage, he doesn't. Like, literally, this dude is just showing up because you asked, so I'm here, that's everything. So I said, listen, is there any percentage of you, or what percentage of you is willing to give this thing a try and give it all you got? And so he went around with his answer, and I said, no, let me ask the question again. What percentage of you is willing to give this thing a try and give it all you got? He said, well, 20%. I said, well, that's all I need. I'll take your 20. Let me get your 20, and I want to go all the way in with that, because that 20 can turn into 60, 60 into 80, 80 to 100. Listen, the reality is when people come to counseling, you have 3 scenarios. Scenario number 1, both want the marriage. Scenario number 2, one wants it, one's unsure. Scenario number 3, one wants it, the other one doesn't. These are all scenarios, but yet they come and transformation can still take place. So if somebody's checked out, if somebody's tuned out, if somebody believes that there's no trust and there's no safety, there's something in them that's allowing them to still be around. You have to find out what the source of your partner's motivation is and tap into that and use that as leverage to pull them further in so that things can begin to shift and to change.
Yeah. Angela Coleman, did you read that one?
No, I don't know.
She says, hello, my husband and I are working things out after losing trust due to cheating. What are some exercises we can do to build up that trust? Well, the first thing that I'm going to say is that I just don't think it's a great idea to do it alone. So if you're not working with a counselor, I would get one. I would call Couples Academy, get on just some kind of leadership and guidance, because it's too easy for us to derail. We just don't know what we don't know, right? So it's too late by the time we figure it out that we did it wrong. So you may as well find somebody that knows how to do it right. But the other part of it is when it comes to, working things out and exercises, one of the things that we love to do is to have couples have a play day and a work day. The reason for that is because it forces a couple to come together with intention. So when it comes to rebuilding that trust and connecting again, you have your play day. That's going out on dates and playing games together and doing things that are connecting and emotional, watching a movie together, being attentive. The work day is where you're actually working on the marriage, doing things that build up the marriage, learning, reading books together, doing activities together. So those are a couple of things that you can do. But again, I would say that you should reach out to somebody who can lead you through the process so that you just don't derail in it.
Absolutely. Great point. Great point. Another question here. Good morning. After an incident of affair, I apologize to my boyfriend. He's not ready to discuss with me and refused talking to me. We don't live in the same state. Do I continue calling or let him be? This is what I would say. There are certain seasons, if you will. Seasons is probably the wrong word. When an affair has occurred and it's new and it's fresh, it's the most volatile time. This is what we call the discovery phase. In the discovery phase, there's a lot of volatility, there's a lot of anger, frustration, depression, and sadness, and oftentimes people get into constant feuds and arguments. Some people shut down, and so sometimes, you have to see what works. If you're contacting him and trying to call him and he's shutting you down and not willing to talk, then you back up a little bit, give him some space, and then try to go back in there and try to reconnect with them. Sometimes the more pressure you give, the more you try to hound a person, the more it forces them away. So you have to be able to be fluid and flexible with your approach. And just because there's a short little season of not talking, it doesn't mean that they're not interested. These are excellent questions, guys. Listen, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to a quick commercial break and be back in just a second and delve into more of your questions. Stay right there. There's so many things to answer. We'll be right back in just a second. just so you know, the link is in the description. If you are ready to get your masterclass, we were talking about overcoming emotional triggers, more than words, the masterclass on communication, all of that is available to you now. So please go. You've been asking. One is a 4-hour masterclass, one is a 5-hour masterclass with all types of techniques and strategies and information that will take your relationship to the next level. There's some of you who are in relationships with people, you want the counseling, your partner doesn't, they're not willing to go, they have an aversion to it. So the next best thing is to get one of these masterclasses, sit down in the comfort of your own home, watch it, talk through it, actually implement the techniques. See it change and begin to shift things in your relationship. And then it may build up the motivation or the desire to take it to the next level, to then join us for counseling. So that's available to you. But we got more questions, so let's go right into it.
Here we go. Rachel asks, any advice for long distance relationships during a pandemic when you want to build a strong foundation for your marriage?
So long distance relationships require a lot of communication, which is really good because sometimes when you're too close and you're all up under each other, that becomes the focus, right? So it's, when you're in love with someone, you're dating someone, it's so easy to shift your relationships into a strong physical interaction as opposed to an emotional, intellectual, spiritual interaction. So to me, that distance allows you to do it the right way.
That's true.
Right? And so what you're doing is you're being intentional. And so a lot of times one of the challenges are when couples are distant, they have different work schedules and they kind of catch each other when they can. So it's real random. And I think what will help is if you created some type of established expectation for when you communicate, how you communicate. There's Zoom, right, where you can actually engage. There's FaceTime. There's Marco Polo. There's texting. There's all types of things. And I think you want to be creative in your approach.
I think now more than ever, long distance is probably the easiest it's ever been because we're all kind of doing long distance with all our friends and all our family. So between Zoom and setting up a schedule where you actually do see each other physically and online, I think that would really help keep it strong. And you know what they used to say before online dating was so big, when it was like new? They would say studies show that being online, it allows you to get more connected, learn about each other. Like Hassani said, do things the right way. So it's actually, it could be advantageous.
Yeah, and you could be creative and do virtual dates. You could watch movies together virtually with popcorn. You can go on date, strolling through the park, all types of things. And then you want to schedule time where you do get together if it's long distance. And so one thing I have noticed is that balance and proper distribution of responsibilities is the key. So if I'm always traveling to you, spending my money, buying plane tickets, getting hotels, all of that, and there's no reciprocation, something's up with that.
True.
So I would say take the time to plan, get-togethers where you're traveling back and forth to one another.
Good. Tori is asking, good morning. I recently discovered my husband's 5-month affair, and though he's cut off all communication and is doing the necessary work to repair their marriage, I am afraid the work will be in vain. I'm stuck. That kind of goes to what I was saying before about people going at it alone, right? You find out about an affair, you come to your own agreement, you make decisions that you're not going to do it anymore, you ask the questions to find out what you think is everything, and then later on, there's an explosive outbreak of information that you weren't ready for. And basically that's what you're afraid of. That's what keeps you from feeling like we can move forward, because you don't know if you know everything. You don't know if you've taken all the right steps. So I would reach out. It's a 15-minute discovery call to find out if there's anything we can do to help you so that whatever it is that you're doing, you can make sure that it's in alignment and you're doing the right thing.
Absolutely. Go to the next question, Daniel.
Next question, Tamara asks, what do you do when you find out your spouse might have another kid? We've been together over 20 years, married for almost 19 years. This came up before we kept saying no. Trust has been broken.
What if you find out your spouse might have another kid? Well, first of all, find out. Because living in, I don't know, I'm not sure, could be, not sure. We've worked with couples where there was a possibility that the child was theirs. And so the thing is, until you know for sure, you're living in constant anxiety, you're living in all types of emotional turmoil over the possibility of what it is. And so, I tell people, play out the scenario. If it is, well, here's the question. Do you have access to that child? Will there ever be a point of contact where that can be confirmed? Or is there some type of setup and arrangement where it probably would not be wise to reach out to the child because that would blow up everybody's world, but yet you have an idea that it's possible? Well, until you have that level of certainty, you don't want to allow it to become an infectious disease that takes over your relationship. This requires a lot of conversation, a lot of clarity, and oftentimes it's very emotionally infused. And when you bring too much emotion into a conversation like this, it never serves or produces anything that's beneficial for the couple. So, forgive us for being redundant, but because we've walked through this with many couples before, give us a call, set up a discovery call, and we can talk through, what this looks like and come up with some strategies to help you come to a quick resolution in terms of at least knowing. And then once you know, then we can help guide you through what to do.
Good, very good. Jay is saying, after he cheated, it's been months of me watching these videos alone. I have tried to mention to my husband to watch with me, but I think he's avoiding it. What can I do? It's so frustrating when you feel like you're the only one, though I strongly believe it only takes one to start, because that's how we experience it. It only takes one to start. But if you're watching and seeing months later that your spouse never has any interest, they're just moving further and further away from you, to me that is a red flag that there's something going on. And I think we need to learn how to establish proper boundaries. I have a sense that if you let things slip with this, maybe you are the type of person that just kind of lets bygones be bygones with everything. And sometimes you got to put your foot down about something and make some demands about what's necessary. Otherwise, things are not going to move forward in this relationship. If this person wants to move forward, right, that's the conversation that needs to be had. They cheated. Okay, so what has been the conversation after that? Are they just not going to do it again? Did they make any commitments or promises? All this stuff needs to be brought to the table because there's a negotiation that needs to take place.
Yep, absolutely. Another great question. My husband had an online emotional affair that may have gotten physical once during the trip that he took without me. Can we save our marriage if he refuses to admit the affair, even though I have 100% proof? Well, so this is what we call deniability, right? So it seems like people only admit things when you put the proof right in front of their eyes. So the question is, are you holding on to the truth, waiting for them to admit it? Have you revealed the truth and they continue to deny it? Is there hope that you can save your marriage? I would say yes. The season that you're in, the state that you're in, it doesn't seem hopeful at all. It may seem helpless, and you may feel like throwing in the towel, calling it quits, and just giving up. Generally speaking, 95% of the time, most people do lie, they do minimize, they do avoid admitting truth, they're evading, they're doing all types of things to give false impressions, because cheating is a lie. Cheating is a lie. And so it's secrecy. And so for somebody to flip a switch, and be completely honest, a lot of times is very difficult. And so what they do is they engage in the trickled truth. And so in their minds, they're giving pieces of truth, but then holding other pieces of truth back, and they're justifying and rationalizing why they're doing it. And so I would say that there's a season in that discovery phase for all of the truth to come out. I don't know how long you've been dealing with this. I don't know how long you've been talking about this. But, if you haven't revealed that information, I would push the envelope and I would show the partner the truth of what you do know, and then make them admit and see if they'll continue to deny. And then at that point, I would say, come and get some help to figure out what your next steps would be. A lot of people have a knee-jerk reaction to end a marriage because things aren't going well in that discovery phase. But I'm telling you, things shift in both individuals, and then once you move from the discovery phase to the full disclosure phase, then all of the truth begins to come out. And then the other thing is this: some people lie for different reasons, right? They lie because they don't want to cause further hurt and pain. They lie because they're trying to avoid the consequences of a marriage being over. They lie because they're trapped in between guilt and shame. And others lie because they're just compulsive liars and lie about everything. Is he a compulsive liar, someone who lies about everything? See, determining what the reason or the motive may be may help in determining if you can move forward.
Yeah. All right, next one here. Young says, what if both parties cheated, but one thinks yours is greater? I get bashed I get bashed for this all the time. What should I do?
This is very typical because we are all biased to our own preferences.
Right.
So I cheat and it's a one night stand and it wasn't anything emotional, it was just sex. You know, Danielle cheats and it's an emotional affair that lasts for 6 months. Now I'm mad at her because, wait a minute, whoa, you not only did you give this person your body, you gave him your heart. That's on a whole nother level.
Right.
And then she's just like, well, at least I was in a relationship. I didn't randomly just, do something with a stranger that I had no connection with. You see how we're both biased to our own
And
way?
minimizing our offense and maximizing the other. And I think that's a huge problem because the offense is the offense. The hurt is the hurt. The lie is the lie. And one lie is no bigger or better than the next lie. So what do we do with that? I think it's important for us to get in front of somebody who can guide you to do this thing right. We're going to say this like it's a broken record because it's a free discovery call. That you need to sit down in front of somebody so somebody can decipher for you what all these things mean. There are so many people out there that do not even understand that an emotional affair is a real affair. How many times have you heard that? It was just emotional, so it was really not an affair. For some, it's even bigger an issue. For some, they would much rather you give your body than your heart and your mind. So get in front of us. Come on, call us. The number's up there, 678-200-8996. Got another one? Deanne says, my husband has threatened to divorce me after 6 years of marriage, even though he has cheated on me for 6 years, and I have never cheated on him. My husband has threatened to divorce me after 6 years of marriage, even though he has never cheated on me for 6 years and I have never cheated on him. Okay. So
he has cheated. So he's threatening to divorce and he has cheated on you for 6 years. And she's never cheated on him.
Okay.
Right. So
it sounds like he's ready to walk out because he's no longer interested in this marriage. It's unfortunate. I'm working with someone right now who's in that position who her husband decided to walk out. And after 15 years or so of being married, and he's in his 60s, and he's in his 70s, she's in his 60s, and he's decided he wants to walk out. People go through all kind of midlife crises in their life, and sometimes we just don't have a choice but to work on our own lives and what we've got going on while we're waiting on our spouse prayerfully to figure it out, whether we're deciding that we're staying or fighting or leaving. We really got to zone in on ourselves and work on our own heart.
Absolutely. Here's another good question. Would you consider talking about sex with a person of the opposite gender an affair? It was impersonal, talking about likes and dislikes and what you do with your partner in the bedroom. First of all, I would say it's very appropriate. We have a video training where we talk about the 19 signs of a close call friendship. And one of those signs is having sexual conversations. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a full-blown affair. I don't know how long these conversations have been taking place, if it was a one-time random, if it's a major form of how you two communicate, where now all you're doing is talking about sexual things. I don't know if you're imagining having sex with one another and talking about what you would do if you could do, but you can't do, so therefore you won't do. I don't know the nature of it. But I would say, once you start talking about sex, you've passed a threshold. Now things have shifted. And now the main form of your communication and interaction could be sexual, sensual, things of that nature. And even though you're talking about what you like and what you do with your spouse, in essence, you're telling this other person, it's almost like, listen, I'm telling you what I like. And what happens when you start talking like that, what you do is you create a passion, an interest, a desire, an anticipation, and imagination of the other person to be with you because you're telling them what you like. It's just completely inappropriate. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's an affair, but it's certainly a close call relationship. But I would need to know more about it to give you a quick yes or no, this was or this wasn't. But certainly it's a tie that's inappropriate that should only be designed for those in the context of marriage.
Yeah. Diane had a part two. She says, now he's saying that he is planning on divorcing me next year. We have 2 small kids together, and I really want to keep my family together. I'm so devastated right now. What do I do?
Try to see if he's willing to at least do a last chance weekend. Even people who are adamant and they're 100% certain that this is what they want, sometimes for the benefit and sake of their partner, they will try an intensive, they will go to counseling, but you'd be amazed what happens in those sessions. Because a lot of times a person who's gung-ho and ready to divorce oftentimes has their own reasons and justifications for it. If they can be properly addressed and resolved, things can turn around. We have many couples in the same situation. And so that's why I would say, even though he's adamant about getting a divorce, do what you can to get him into this last chance weekend on next weekend, December the 11th through the 13th. It can really significantly change your marriage and your life.
Absolute. We got a couple more here. This is, so Jared Mills says, in this season of giving, how do I repay or show my gratitude to the spiritual people who have mourned, prayed, fasted, counseled, etc. with me over the troubled marriage? I just think, I mean, that's a wonderful question to ask during this season, because guess what? This is the time to give. I mean, there's a million things that you could do. Number one, reach out and call them and say thank you, send them a card, give them a gift. I mean, there's a million things that you could do to bless somebody who has poured into your life. So make sure you find a way to let people know that you are grateful.
There's power in thank you. You know, you think about the story where Jesus healed a group of people and they all walked away, and then one came back to say thank you, and he said, because you did that, I'm now going to make you whole. So there's something powerful in verbal affirmation and gratitude. All right, I think we have one more.
We have a very long one from Amanda.
We'll let this be our last one because we are hitting the end of the show. So you want to read that?
Amanda says, my man of 20 years never married me. We have 2 kids, was abusive, manipulative, controlling, accusing me of everything under the sun. Last year, I found out he was cheating 17 years ago when we had... In the last 5 years, he was trucking and holding sexual and sex-talking relationships with hundreds of women. 6 months after I found out the answer to the question anymore, there's a lot going on here. I'm trying to get to the question, sorry. You know what, Amanda? I need you to just write me a question, because it's a whole story. Sorry.
This is what a discovery call is for, because I mean, this is post after post after post, and it's kind of really hard to read these. And in a discovery call, we're able to get the background, we're able to hear your story, we're able to kind of ascertain what is really going on to then give you an adequate question. These are just like bullet point questions and answers. And guys, I hope that this has been helpful for you. I hope that you're getting something out of this show, because all it takes is the answer to one question, an aha moment, a revelation, an epiphany, and then everything begins to shift and change. This is the season to do it. In this season of giving, one thing you want to give is more love, more understanding, more compassion. The best gift that you can give your partner is the gift of a new you. And you
yes,
have an opportunity
Lord.
to
That's
give them,
good, Asani.
Yeah, you got an opportunity to give them a new you by showing up in a different way. And sometimes just listening to this show every single day, if it changes an inch, if it changes an ounce of your perspective and gets you on the right page, then it was absolutely worth it. We're here every single morning to answer your questions and to guide you through a process to take your relationship to the next level.
Yes.
Once again, this is Friday. We hope you have an amazing weekend. Really quickly, on Monday and Tuesday, we have the Matthews that are going to be coming and talking about finances. Today is the last day of this cyber sale, so if you haven't gotten your books, the link is in the description. Also, Last Chance Weekend will be coming up in just a week from now, so don't miss out. We keep the group intimate, but we do have a few slots left for you. 21 days to Christmas. We're on a countdown. We can't wait. And guys, we love you. We will see you on Monday. Take care.
Bye.
Boom.
on the ground, Snow White so bright. In the fireplace is the Yule log. Beneath the mistletoe as we drink eggnog. The rhymes that you hear are the rhymes of carols. Like each and every year we bust Christmas carols.
Yo, come on, let's check. You ain't get the man from last night? Santa, Macy's? Yo, man, let's go eat, man. I'm hungry. Come on, man. Yo. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
And I'm Danielle.
And every single morning we come to you for some great content that will inspire you and take your relationship to the next level. It's 18 days
I know.
till Christmas.
Still didn't get your list. You better hustle, buddy.
We're on the countdown. I hope you're getting your list ready and, getting your money, stacking those coins so that
And
you
not
have an amazing
spending
Christmas.
too much.
You don't want to spend too much.
Let's not do too much, guys. Enough is enough. We got to know when enough is enough, right?
We do need to know that. We do
Yes.
need to know that. Listen, as you know, this weekend is our last chance weekend. If you have not registered, it is time for you to do what's necessary to join that group. We only have a few slots left. Let me tell you a great story. We got blessed because there was an individual in Washington State who had been watching the work that we do and the impact that we're trying to make in the lives of couples. And this person isn't even married. This person isn't even in a relationship. They're single, but they're inspired by what they're hearing. And they sowed a seed of $1,000 and said, listen, if there are couples that you come across who are in need of help, who need to take their relationship to the next level, if there's anything you can do to prevent a divorce, please take this $1,000 seed and gift it to them so that they can get the help that they need. I was blown away.
Same. I was so blessed.
I was like, this is incredible.
And we had just talked a couple shows ago about giving, there was a day last week that was all about giving. And so I was like, find some person to give to, bless somebody. We're blessed to be blessings, and then boom.
And so we want to give that gift away, that $1,000 seed. So if you were interested in the last chance weekend, please, the first one to call, whoever it is, we're not biased to anyone. If you are in need, you don't have all of it, but you have some of it. Take this $1,000 seed and invest it in your marriage and join us this weekend, December the 11th through the 13th. So you can simply go to couplesacademy.org, set up a discovery call. Let's talk about these options. Let's talk about what this weekend is about. It's going to be tremendously impactful because people's lives need to be transformed, and it's just the time to do it. Divorces happen at a rapid rate in December and January every single year. Don't fall into that statistic. There's hope for you. Now, listen, we're excited today because we have an amazing couple who's coming on. We have the Matthews. They've written an incredible book called Let's Fight About Money. They have been fighting about money for a long time. I know we've been fighting about money.
Well, haven't we all been fighting about money? I think it's about how we fight for money. Are we fighting against each other or for each other? That makes the big difference, and we can't wait to talk to them today and share what they have, all the goodness they have for us today. But first, I just want to say hello to some people. Thank you guys for joining us. Danae, Calvin Hay, Anthony, Vashawn, Michelle, Lakeisha, Kiera, Virtue, Torre, and LaShawn. Thank you guys for being the early risers and responders and getting on here first. Remember, like, share, and subscribe if you're still not getting the notification, and I know y'all are. But tell somebody else, hit the bell. We want to see you every single day. But today, guys, we're so excited to be talking about money wars, how to create financial peace in your home. Join us now.
Right back. All right, guys, we are here. We're excited because we've been waiting for this. We happen to have with us Martin and Chelsea Matthews. They are financial experts.
Yes.
We've been following them for quite some time. Not only are they experts, but they're amazing personalities. They have an amazing website where you can find out more about them. They have incredible videos. We even have gone to them for some of our financial instruments because of the level of expertise that they bring. And so we said, why don't we have a conversation and bring them on and talk about money because many people are talking about money because it's one of the things that couples fight about. When you think about the 5 stressors in a relationship, it is communication, sex, finances, parenting, and in-laws, money being one of them. So without any further ado, Martin and Chelsea Matthews, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning,
Good
guys.
morning. Thank
How
you
are
so
you?
much for having us.
We're doing great. It's good to have you guys on the show today. Let's dive right into the topic. As you know, finances is a main stressor that people have been struggling with all throughout the course of their relationships. And what are some of the challenges, the common challenges that you come across as couples sit across your desk?
Well, the common challenges is them being on 2 different pages. And an example of this we talk about in our book is something called money personalities. Money personalities is how a person handles money. What's their viewpoint on how to handle money? So I grew up being a spender. Chelsea grew up being a saver. So we had the clash there where we got married, where I wanted to spend to maybe even grow our business or do certain things. And Chelsea's a little bit more cautious. You know, she's like, well, I don't know if I want to do that and this other thing. So that started to create some conflict. So we see that when people come to us, the viewpoint a lot of them have is they just have different views on how they handle and deal with money from opposing points of view that way.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. I have a question for you. You know, one of the challenges that we face when we deal with couples is this whole notion of what's mine, what's yours versus what's ours. You know, I read a book some time ago. It was called One Bedroom, One Bank Account. And it talks about being in financial alignment with your spouse. And I you know, when we counsel couples, overwhelmingly a lot of them live a Dutch life.
Right.
He's got his money, she's got hers. He's got his debt, she's got hers.
Right. And I'm always curious about, is that a good way to manage money for anyone? Because you have different point of views on that. The splitting of bills, and listen, as long as you pay these bills and I pay those bills are paid, you can do whatever else you want with your money. What is your thought on splitting and going Dutch?
Well, I think that each couple has to decide what works best for them. And in being in the financial industry, we work with a lot of couples, and there's some couples who combine their money. There's some couples that keep their money completely separate. And it really is something that they have to have a conversation about and come to an agreement and get on the same page about. For us personally, we definitely combine our finances. And because we have our business together, we have our life together, I couldn't really imagine it any other way, because we do so much together. And so for me personally, I think that when you're in a relationship, you get on the same page with having the same goals, same financial goals, and you really have to know what's going on with each other and with your finances and set those goals together. And so for me, having your finances together is really a sign of trust and working together. But some couples do like keeping their money separate and kind of having their own money. And I think that's okay as long as it doesn't come down to a trust issue because they don't trust each other and because, you know, maybe some past experiences that they have their money separate or they can't get on the same page. So when it comes down to because a deeper issue, they keep their money separate, then that's where the trouble comes in. But if it's just what works best for them, then that's okay.
But that's a great point. But what we have found is that for the most of them, it is a trust issue.
It is.
Major trust issues which cause them to live separately inside their home. And that's one of the challenges that shows up.
And what I've heard many times is like, we can't build, right? We can't build a financial future because I don't know what's in his pocket. He doesn't know what's in my pocket. They're just paying bills and they have their own savings and they don't know what their savings are their best. And I agree with the whole concept of do what works, but it needs to work, right? And secrecy doesn't work. Is there any best practices for those who do it that way, where they do the split thing for them also to build for a financial future?
Well, you know, I'm a little bit harsher than Chelsea is on that particular subject because I don't believe that it should be all separate. I think when you have it separate, there's some issue there you're not confronting or not willing to confront. So you think it's in some ways an avoidance. Now, if somebody's like newly getting together, they've been only together for a few months, okay, so they're not really joined. But if they're married or been together for a long time, look, you guys got to confront that as a thing. And I believe that And that's some of the things we help people on to get to confront it, to have it be where they're having things jointly and have that trust built up. The way I see that people can handle that is they can take baby steps by, adding somebody to the account as a joint account, still kind of keeping control of the account, but adding somebody on it as a joint account. That's a little step that they can take. And maybe if you're don't really trust them because maybe they're a spender and you think they're going to spend the money, you're not used to having somebody in your account, okay, don't give them the debit card, right? That's a step that you can take. Add them to the account, don't give them the debit card. So, but that itself, I don't really like, because that's still signaling I don't fully trust you. I think they really need to confront this and get to a point of comfort and trust with each other where they can be on the account comfortably and not have it be an issue.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that advice. Thank you for that.
So powerful, because we have Lakeisha who said, wow, this has got to be God. I certainly prayed about this topic this morning. See how
Wow.
look at God. Listen to answered prayers. And this is real. This is a real issue that many people are dealing with. And so one of the other topics happens to be what?
Well, the next thing we had questions about is debt, right? Right now in this season, we're talking about debt because we're going into debt. We're spending all this money on Christmas gifts. A lot of us, because of the economy, have taken out these, what is it, the EIDL loans, right? So people have these stimulus checks that they were getting and all of that. All of this stuff has to get paid back. So people are going into debt left and right because of the economy, because of COVID, because of all these things. What can you say to speak to people about getting a handle on all this debt, on the heels of Christmas coming on? What can you say to people to help them get this under control?
Okay, so first of all, when it comes to debt is a very emotional topic, and people have a lot of embarrassment and a lot of guilt when it comes to debt. But really the thing that we want to stress when it comes to debt is understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt. And good debt basically puts money in your pocket. So that's things like if you are having maybe cash flowing properties, or you're investing in your business and you're growing and expanding. Bad debt is more of the consumer debt, takes money out of your pocket. And so those are the things, especially around the holidays, that people do want to get a handle on and not be taking on a whole lot of consumer debt. And so we have a few things, especially me being the saver, is I do like to get a handle on setting a budget and being organized. And so when it comes to the holidays specifically, some things that people can do is, for one, decide on a budget, like how much do they want to spend, and focus on really not taking on more debt. Focus on what do you have coming in, or what do you already have set aside that you can use. And then you can also look at some other ways that you can celebrate the holidays, like maybe some ways that you can help people or do some things for people, not necessarily always having to spend. One thing that we told our son, our 15-year-old son, when he's putting his Christmas Christmas list together, which gets bigger and bigger every year and more expensive every year. So we gave him a challenge and said, okay, every single item that you put on your Christmas list, I want you to also put something on your list that you could either do for somebody else or give to somebody else. So really kind of getting in the spirit of giving more than receiving, and really remembering what this holiday season means to you and your family.
Powerful, powerful. Listen, let me jump into this area, because we find this to be a challenge oftentimes, and that's the differences in personalities. Now, think about it. Men and women are different in general, so there's the challenges of that. But outside of just the gender differences, people have different personality styles, particularly as it relates to how they manage their money. So some are savers, some are spenders. And so some have different priorities in terms of what needs to be done with the money. And oftentimes that causes a whole lot of friction and conflict, and it keeps couples at a standstill. How do you, counsel couples about how to blend their personalities, which are oftentimes different, without it causing a conflict, but how does it complement one another when they recognize these differences?
Yeah.
Well, you start by finding agreement. So where you have, because when people have two different views on something, they don't have enough reality with each other. One person sees it, I want to spend this money on something. Other person sees it as a saver. Somebody starts lecturing the other person. So they have a disagreement. When you have disagreement, communication drops. When communication drops, affinity, wanting to be around each other drops. Why? Because there's a conflict that's unhandled. So we look for where they have agreement. When you start figuring out where they have agreement, by agreement I mean what do they want to achieve together in the area of the finances. Number one, they probably want to make sure there's sufficient cash flow to make sure that they can pay their expenses and not have to be too stressed about money. Or they want to make sure that the family's financially protected in case something happens to one person or the other. Or they want to be financially free and build a business together. Whatever it is, we find, okay, what do you guys agree on? And that's the agreement. That means they have reality on that. Once you increase the reality and agreement, then we start to communicate about that which they agree on. Then they start to become, the affinity level goes up for each other, because now we're talking about the agreements versus the disagreements. Once we start to clear up getting on a page, hey, this is what we agree on. This is where we want to go. These are the things we want to do. Okay, let's focus on those things. Then some of the other stuff fades into the background and become minor. And it's like, you know what? I think I can figure out how we can still save and still have some fun at the same time. So it comes down to starting with the agreements that they have, that the areas where they agree on already.
And I love that. Hassani and I are always talking about the power of agreement.
Yes.
Is literally the launching pad for everything else in your life. And unfortunately, many folks just say, well, we'll agree to disagree. I don't know when that became a thing. It should have never been a thing in marriage. But for some reason, some people would rather settle in disagreement than find a meeting of the minds. So I think it's powerful. Another scenario that comes up for couples is this whole power play, when one of the spouses actually is the income earner and maybe the other one isn't. Maybe the other one is the home keeper, or maybe one of these partners makes more money than the other, or receives some big inheritance or something like that, where they feel like since they're the earner, the big earner, they get to dictate the finances. Do you encounter that with couples? And what would you say to a couple who is in that scenario?
Yes, we do encounter couples where one handles the money or one is the breadwinner, and it really does come down to communication and understanding each role, and also, deciding on and agreeing on what your roles are in the home, and if you have a business together or one works and the other one doesn't. And it really comes down to communication, appreciating and understanding what impact and contribution that each partner brings to the relationship financially, and the rest of the family. And so whether one handles the money, whether one makes the money, it's very, very important for them to both communicate and both have a say and an influence in what happens with the money. And so you want to handle this one?
Yeah,
I just lost my train of thought.
Well,
You're flowing good, Chelsea.
there you go.
That's so good, and then I just lost it.
What I'll add on top of that is if you're the income earner, sometimes that's an issue around control, right? So if you're the income earner, you're the one bringing in the money. The homemaker, let's say one person's the homemaker, and so they're at home running the household. First of all, you got to acknowledge that what they do, taking care of the kids, is a full-time job by itself. They just may not be getting paid hourly or salary for it, but it allows the other partner to go into the workforce and not have the attention on the kids at home, all those things going on. So like Chelsea talked about the appreciation, that's very important. The other thing is being open and discussing with your partner the finances. Chelsea and I every week do a cash flow. We do a cash flow meeting. We meet about our cash flow in our household and business, right? And so by us getting together, understanding where things are at, what kinds of expenses we have coming up, things like that, that gets us on the same page and both people know what's going on. It's when people hide things or either aren't very transparent with showing all of the finances to the other partner, it creates a gap. It creates either a knowledge gap or it just creates a gap of the person insecurity, not knowing what's there or what's going on. And I think the more somebody shows it to the other partner, even if they are the income earner, how the other partner understand what's going on, that makes a big difference in a relationship.
Thank you. The rest of what I was thinking and made it into words.
But you just hit on something in terms of children, and that's another big thing when it comes to finances. There's a book called Love Busters, and it talks about the many things that destroy romantic love. And one of the things it says sometimes having children, because the focus goes from being husband and wife to mommy and daddy. But in addition to that, it's also a huge financial responsibility. And I know that according to statistics, the average child from the time they're born to the time they're 18 is approximately like $250,000 it costs per child. So you're dealing with everything from food and clothing, shelter, extracurricular activities, proms, buying car, all types of things. And so that can have an impact on finances. Do you find that couples really struggle financially when it comes to how they begin to deal with the financial responsibilities of having children and how that leans on all the other existing expenses that they have? How do you help couples work through that?
So I think just like any financial decisions, it comes down to their money personality and what they believe and think that should be done with the money. And so a lot of times parents have different ideas of what that means in handling children and any other financial decision. So it really does come down to communicating and coming to an understanding and getting on the same page. Like Martin talked about with the money personalities and him being a spender and me being a saver, that really communicated in every sense of our financial decisions along with our son. And so until we could understand what our money personalities were, there was this conflict because I always had a sense that I wanted to save and hold on to the money. He always had a sense he wanted to spend and grow and expand. And so until we could identify that about each other, we kept making each other wrong. Like I kept thinking when he wanted to spend, he was threatening our financial security. And when I didn't want to spend, he felt like I was trying to control him. And so once we started communicating about that and understanding that we have the same financial goals, where we want to go in our relationship and our business, then when he wanted to spend, then I could think, okay, I know that we both want the same thing, even though he's wanting to go about it a different way. Let me see if I could just hear where he's coming from. And I know that his intentions are good and his intentions want to get us in the same place. And then vice versa, when I would want to save or not spend on something, whether it had to do with, our son or anything else, then he could have that understanding and think, okay, well, is this something that will really help us grow? Is this something that will help our son, help our business? And is there a more cost-effective way? So by understanding how each other thinks and approaches things, we can communicate in a way that we know our partner will hear and will be more willing to listen to where they're coming from. And so that way, there would be times where I would be scared that he wants to spend, but I would think, okay, I know he has a good intention. Let me just hear him out. And then we can find that understanding and then we can make a decision together.
I think what you shared is so powerful, and I hope that the audience was able to catch that. You literally talked about becoming bilingual, right? You have your language that you speak and how you feel safe and secure. He has his, and you needed to meet in the middle and learn to speak each other's languages so that you could move forward with joint decision making, which I think is so necessary and so powerful. One of the things that we talk about a lot is financial infidelity, which we know can happen in many, many, many different ways. One way I'd love for you guys to speak on is when it comes to extended family. During the holidays or any time really, there could be a crisis that happens in a family member's life. Your sister's tires are flat somewhere and she needs $200 to fix her car. Somebody's lights are out, whatever the case may be, or somebody's just raising money and they want you to be the donor. How do you guys deal with your respective families or situations from either side, friends or whatever, coming to you and asking for money?
So that happened from my side of the family. So I was born in Liberia in West Africa, and so it's very common for people to ask for money a lot from Liberia or West Africa. But Chelsea's not accustomed to that at all. So my family I get hit up for money all the time, even from strangers who live there, who they'll reach out and ask me for money all the time. So a couple of things that we've done as our successful actions. Number one, even though I can make some of these decisions to be able to give this money, I always tell people, hey, I need to speak with Chelsea about this first, and then we'll see what we can do. So even my mother, she'll call and ask me for some money, and then I said, I'll discuss this with Chelsea and we'll see what we can do. So she now says, okay, Chelsea. I said, I need to be calling Chelsea more. I need to call Chelsea more than you. But it's because I'm training them I'm training them to understand that I will. It's not that I don't want to help you. Is that I need to have this chat with my spouse. Now it doesn't always need to be that way, but I say that often, just so I can train them to understand that, hey, there will be a discussion with her. Let her know. Sometimes it's a matter of just telling her, hey, I'm going to send this person some money, but I'm at least letting her know so there aren't surprises when this happens. The other thing that we do is we set money aside for giving. So we take a portion of our income and we put it aside for giving, and it goes into the giving account. The giving account is there for when those kinds of things happen. We can pull from the giving account and give for those purposes. So that way I don't have to feel guilty if we deplete the giving account and there's not money in that particular giving account. It doesn't mean I don't have money. It just means that the money I have is earmarked for other things. Right. And the giving account has been depleted, so now I need to go make more money to replenish the giving account.
That's so good. We have this giving account as well, except for when it's empty. We seem to find some reason to give it anyway. So how do you deal with that? You know, I've heard this before, that people say, okay, once the giving account is empty, you tell them it's empty. Not so easy to do, right, when somebody's in crisis. How do you do that? How do you have that conversation that, hey, the giving account is empty, come back next year?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah, it's not easy. One time we had to pull from, we have a fund account. It's what we call our fund money, where we can just use for whatever purpose we want to use for. And one point we depleted a giving account, and we pulled some of it from our fund money. So we got to have a little bit less fun, so that we can give that money to somebody else.
Which was fun.
Yeah, that was fun
and
to do.
You mentioned a couple different accounts that we have, and we actually have many different accounts and many different things that we put money aside for. So like giving is one, fun is one, and we even have for holidays. That's another thing that people can start doing, you know, more long term for like next holiday season or birthdays or whatever comes up. So we put a certain amount aside each time that money comes in, so that we have, you know, even for like trips, so that when those things come up, it's not like a big, you know, blow to the cash flow that it has to come out. And also another thing that we do is when there is an opportunity for giving, or, you know, something that we want to do, we really take that on as a game and a challenge to be able to go and create more cash flow and more income. Like, we don't like somebody to need help and then the money's not there. And we have a lot of things that we want to be able to do for our own family, for our community, and beyond. And so it's always a challenge for us. Like, if we're not able to do something that we want to be able to do, we're like, hey, instead of, oh, we can't do it, it's like, hey, how can we do it? Let's go create that cash flow to be able to do it.
Wow, that's really, really, really.
I
really
love
powerful.
the organization that I'm hearing, the different accounts for every single thing. Powerful stuff, guys. I hope you're taking notes.
Yeah, listen. We're going to go to a quick commercial break in just a minute, but we want the Matthews to come back with a final point to wrap up today's episode. I hope you've been getting something out of this. It's been tremendously a blessing to us. We sure it's been a blessing to you as well. Be right back to these quick commercial break. All right, guys, we're back. Listen, all the links are in the description below. If you want to take advantage of those products, if you want to sign up for a discovery call, if you want to just go straight into that last chance weekend, just click the links in the description and it'll be available for you. But listen, we've been listening to the Matthews. They are experts. They are financial whizzes. They are the people that we go to for our financial products as well. So give us a last tip. And then please end by just telling them how they can find out more about you, where they can follow you, where they can find out more about your services. Hit us.
So I want to say for any couples out there that are struggling, with financial conflict, is that there is hope. As long as you guys want to make it work and want to get on the same page and are willing to do the work, then you absolutely can. And you guys don't have to always see eye to eye. I won't say agree to disagree, but really in our book, Let's Fight About Money, we help couples communicate about money, handle conflict, and build an unbreakable financial house so that really you can go from fighting each other to fighting for each other. And it all comes down to communication. So if you're willing to do the work and you want to make it work, then you absolutely can get on the same page. And your differences can actually be assets in your relationship, because us being saver, spender, now he has helped me to grow and expand some of my fears with spending money. And he has, been able to look at things in a different way. And so it's actually become an asset. So I just want to encourage all of you out there that you could go from fighting each other to fighting for each other, and we can help you do that.
Wow, what powerful way to end today's episode. Listen, you can find out more about them. The link, we'll put the link to their website, but you've seen it on the screen. They're going to be back tomorrow. We're going to do a part 2 that we're really excited about, and we want to give you the opportunity to ask your questions. You know how on Friday we have Q&A? Well, tomorrow is your financial Q&A. So please come prepared with your questions. The Matthews will be with us. We're excited that they had an opportunity to join us. Listen, Christmas is just a few days away. You need to get your finances together so that season does not wipe you out.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we love you very much, and we will see you in the morning.
Bye, guys.
Talk to you later.
King, let every heart prepare him room. Let heaven and nature sing.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy show. My name is Hassani.
And I'm Danielle.
And we are here every single morning, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. to give you information, inspiration, because we have nothing more than dedication to you.
Yeah.
And if you're dedicated to each other, we're dedicated to you. Guys, listen, I got a call yesterday from somebody who was interested in starting some counseling, and they were following up to get started, and they were telling me about their situation. And they were like, yeah, we need to get in these weekly sessions. And when she was talking about all the pain that she was in, and how it was unbearable and how she couldn't make it another day, and she was questioning, I just don't know how to function. I'm like, well, why would you do weekly sessions? You should do something more intense. Like, we have this last chance weekend coming up, and I'm like, that's what you need. And then when I began to explain it to her and her husband, they were like, that's exactly what we need, because we don't want that long, slow journey. Think about driving from Atlanta to Miami locally through streets, and you can't get on the highway and go 80 miles an hour. You have to go 25, stop at every light, go through all these detours to get to your final destination. You will quit before you make it to your destination.
Yeah, makes sense. Or I think about the analogy of, needing life support, right? So if your marriage is in a situation where you actually need life support and you're dying, you're literally dying, you don't want somebody taking their time in the ambulance, stopping at the light. You need somebody to be running all the red lights and getting you where you can get that life support and get things going. So that's what the Last Chance Weekend is for. That's what it's about. If you're really going through some things, you don't know if you're going to make it into 2021, you want to make sure that you check out the Last Chance Weekend. At least give us a call and find out if it's right for you. Because one thing that I love is that when we talk to people, we do pretty good at directing them at what they actually need. Not everybody needs an intensive. Sometimes weekly sessions work. Sometimes you need a couple hours.
And that's real talk, because we'll tell people quick, I don't think that's for you. When you go to somebody for help, you want to tell them, okay, this is what I need. You don't want to tell them what you need. You want to allow them to tell you what you need based upon their expertise and advice. Yeah. And so that's what we're saying, folks. So if that is you, you're in a situation that you desperately want to get out of. You don't want to go into 2021 the way that you're currently in your relationship. Give it a chance. So give us a call and we can talk more about it. So it's December the 11th through the 13th. It's coming up once again next weekend. So go ahead and register. Also, people have been taking advantage of the Cyber Week, 60% off. So feel free to go to the Cash App and put in the signing credit for it, or the link below. There's a description, and in that link, it unpacks everything, and you can purchase it right there. What a great gift for you, your partner, your family. It's a gift that keeps on giving. Listen, guys, we are 23 days away from Christmas.
Boy.
How many of you excited? I know I'm excited.
Have you written your Christmas list yet?
No, I've gotten all your requests, but I haven't written
all
my list
requests. How many, Sonny?
Just two. It was just two.
Wow, DC? That's what
listen. You need to have that list, and we're excited because on next week, really quick announcement, we have the Matthews who are going to be coming to us and joining us. The Matthews are a phenomenal power couple who specialize in finances, and we're going to be talking about how to prepare for Christmas.
Yes.
And then how to get into financial
alignment. And the aftermath of Christmas.
Yes. What are you doing?
Don't sink your ship for one holiday. Come on now.
I know that's right. But guys, we're excited today because we're talking about a topic. Yesterday we were talking about how
healing is
a choice. The choice to heal. And today we're talking about the choice to forgive. So be right back, guys.
Welcome back. We're so excited. We didn't say today where we're located. We're located here in Atlanta, Georgia. That's where our headquarters are. And many of you have been here to our headquarters, and many of you have not. But this is where we do our thing every day, working with couples, getting on this radio show, really supporting and helping you. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Let everybody know about what we're talking about here, because this is transforming couples' lives all around the world. And if you're not getting notifications, make sure you hit the bell, and you will be notified every time we go live. So we're excited about talking about making the choice to forgive, because yesterday we talked about healing is a choice, right?
Yeah.
But forgiveness is just one part of it. But before we do that, I just want to jump over here and say hello to everyone. Hey, Kiara, good to see you. Angel, DC, Ann, Michelle, Danielle, Tanya, hey, girl, Dee Dee, good to see you guys. Thank you for always just joining us first thing in the morning. So look, guys, this topic of forgiveness, it's a serious issue. We want to dive into it and give you some tips and give you some understanding, really, because forgiveness for many is a curse word. It is something that they vow never to do. I will never forgive. And there are reasons behind that, and they vary. But a lot of people who have a refusal to forgive, they do that because of false notions about what forgiveness actually is, and they haven't understood what it really means to forgive somebody actually allows you to have a certain level of freedom. So we want to jump into understanding what forgiveness truly is. Did you want to add a little point?
Let's
While I
get
scroll
it.
to my
Let's
notes?
go. Let's
Okay.
go.
So number one, forgiveness does not mean forgetting. And here's the thing with that. People always say, forgive and forget. You've been telling your children that since they were in kindergarten, okay? Make up, forgive and forget. When our minds are not designed to do that. We technically cannot forget. There was this video that I showed my kids years ago. It was a little science project, and it showed basically all these pictures that were flashing before you super fast, right? So that you couldn't really identify the pictures, except for every time you would look at it, you would see everything that was dangerous. So the pictures were going like at millisecond speed. You saw a spider, you saw a snake, and you saw a scorpion. But you didn't see a birthday cake, a candle, a sock. You didn't even see them. And so our minds are actually designed to remember things, to warn us and to protect us. So people don't understand that forgiving is just not synonymous with forgetting. We're not designed to forget.
And nor should you ever want to forget. Now think about it. If you've experienced any type of hurt in your marriage, why would you want to forget? Because if you forget what has happened, as they say, those who don't remember history are bound to repeat it again. And oftentimes when situations happen in a person's life, think about a country, a nation, when they go through these pivotal moments, oftentimes they put all types of statues and memorials in place as a reminder, not to hold on to the pain and the bitterness, not to have vitriol towards it, but it was a defining moment. And then after that point, things began to shift and change, oftentimes in a better direction. And so if you are experiencing anything in your relationship and your mind is just like, I'm never gonna forget, well, don't have the negative emotion attached to it that keeps you trapped in the pit of your pain.
We're gonna get to that, but I think it's interesting how we'll say things like, I'll forgive, but I'll never forget, as if you're threatening someone, right? Forgive.
Well, what they mean by that is I'm not going to let you forget.
Right.
I'm going to remind you every single opportunity.
That's what they should be saying.
Yes.
I'll forgive, but I'll never let you forget. But we're not supposed to forget. We're not meant to forget. And I think if we could grasp that idea as you step foot on this journey towards forgiveness, that's going to be a big relief for you, because you might think that I thought I forgot or forgave, but I just can't stop thinking about it. I can't forget it. The fact is that you're never going to forget it. You will shift your experience and your feeling that's associated with it, but you will never forget it.
There it is.
Number two, forgiveness and anger don't mix well. And that's just the reality of it, right? When we think that we're not supposed to be angry. We talked about this yesterday. Think about how angry Jesus was when he went into the church and saw the people were peddling, right? We think that if you forgave me, then you shouldn't be angry. That's not so.
Well, those are two different things, right? So forgiveness is a decision and a journey you continue to take, but the feelings that you have about what has occurred, that's a process sometimes. You can't just turn it on and off like a switch. So if you're seething in rage and anger, then there's a filtering process to release those negative emotions, so you no longer feel as strong as you once felt about that situation. So yes, you can forgive and still harbor feelings and emotions. That's just the next part of your journey in your healing process.
And I think it's just dismissive for, like, if somebody hurt you, and you make the commitment to forgive, and I make that decision, I'm going to forgive you and go through that process, and you can't handle the fact that what you did angered me, like, to me, that seems like a disservice to the person who's on a journey. You are going to get angry, and the fact that you will not forget means that you will get angry at some times. I think it's about what you do with the anger, right? If you are unleashing anger on the person, then it becomes an issue. But having angry emotions about what happened to you, that's a normal occurrence.
And in that season of anger, and hopefully it's not a long season at all, a lot of times when you, the offender, hurt somebody else and they're angry or whatever their emotion is, and they're broken, they're crushed, they're violated, somehow you should be over this by now. You should get beyond this. And then in their anger, when they respond back to you and say things that you don't like and do things that you don't like, you're crushed.
Oh, yeah.
You can't take it.
'Cause
You're
now it's
ready to
more
tap
offense.
out. You're ready to cry uncle. You're ready to leave because I'm not going to be disrespected and how dare you. But look at what you did, Joker. And so you have to be sensitive to where people are at and realizing that, and you talk about this all the time, how we have this internal anger meter that's within us. And so,
Yeah.
listen, some people's anger meters, because of what has happened, is on red.
Yeah.
And we have to bring it right back down into a healthy space, but it's a process.
Some people have shorter fuses than others, don't they?
They certainly do.
Number 3, forgiveness does not mean endorsement. And that's a big one because oftentimes when you sit in front of somebody and they start talking to you about forgiveness, they talk to you also about acceptance, which truly is part of the process. But I think for different people, acceptance means different things, right? Acceptance doesn't mean that I now accept that this is something that you can do to me. And that is definitely rooted in the hearts and mind of many who have to go through that forgiveness process, is that if I forgive you, I've endorsed this behavior. I am literally nodding to this and saying, yes, you can treat me this way.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. D'Angelo says, good morning. It's just like saying, I'm sorry about something. You want your spouse to not be angry, but there still is a healing process for the offended. And that's exactly what we're talking about. It is a process. It is a journey. And if I'm getting better by day, then accept where I'm at and accept that I'm going to be better than where I am today. But it's a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting back to the endorsement part is that we need to just recognize that it is not justifying the behavior. Okay, we talk about this all the time. Forgiveness is exoneration. Forgiveness is giving somebody a gift that they do not deserve. It's somebody who has been hurt, giving a gift to someone who has hurt them that they don't deserve and could never deserve. It's the same thing that Jesus did for us on the cross. If you can put your mindset into that. We did not deserve it. We had fallen short, and he put himself in harm's way for us. It's that same thing. So people feel like they, that if I accept this, if I forgive, I'm now endorsing this behavior. Not so. Not so at all.
Totally agree with that.
Okay. The 4th one, forgiveness does not require reconciliation. Now, this is a tricky one because, we're talking, we work with couples and we're always trying to bring reconciliation, but we know many cases where there just is no way to bring reconciliation. You think about family members or, a friend and things that happen and they just have moved on and they will not talk to you anymore, or someone has died and you cannot reconcile with the person because they're no longer here. It is still on you. The onus is on you to get the forgiveness because forgiveness is for us.
It is for us. And so these are the things that you have to be mindful of if you're going to move forward in your relationship. And to your point, reconciliation isn't always synonymous because there are certain people who are no longer in touch with you. Maybe they go back to childhood and you haven't seen them in 20 years. So how you
don't want to.
reconcile? Right. Maybe there's family members or people who have passed, they're in the grave. There's no way to reconcile. And then, the reality is there's some people in your life, some friends who you're like, I love you, I forgive you, but that season of our relationship is over.
I don't need you in my world.
There it is. Certain people are there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. But if you've made a decision to stay in your marriage, you can't stay in your marriage but refuse to reconcile.
Right.
You're just making things incredibly worse for everybody. My thing is, don't treat your marriage like a death sentence, like a prison. If you're going to be in there, then do what's necessary to restore the relationship. And that's why we always draw the distinction between your marriage and your relationship. You could stay married but have no relationship. But if you work on that relationship and you reconcile, then it makes the marriage a lot sweeter.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, I think that the point that I'm wanting to get across with this reconciliation piece is that when we think about the fact that I have to do all these things to actually have forgiven, we put all these rules, and there really is no rules to how we're going to feel through the forgiveness process, because each person's journey is so significantly different depending on the circumstances of the offense, right? If it's my husband and I'm wanting to stay with him, I have those circumstances. If it's a family member or a friend and they don't want anything to do with me, or we're just not in touch, there's those set of circumstances. But at the end of the day, the reconciliation is so set apart from forgiveness, which is really a heart matter. Like, forgiveness is a decision and a long-term one too. It's a commitment. And so it's not based on how I feel today, right? I could be good with Hassani today. We're in a great place. He's hurt me somehow, but I have made the decision to forgive, right? Tomorrow I can be pissed off about something. I'm upset, I'm angry. That has nothing to do with my decision to forgive. Do you see? So we put all these like boundaries around it. Well, I guess I haven't forgive, or I can't forgive because of this. And really, it's a commitment and a decision, and the experience that you have through the journey is very unique depending on the person.
Absolutely. And I will say that if you've made a decision to forgive, you're making the decision to continue to forgive. It's a posture, it's a disposition, it's the way that you wake up. Think about it. The Bible says that God gives us new mercies every single day. And that's the same posture or disposition. Because if you say, well, in 1946, when you did such and such, I forgave you. And then, but you're still harboring all of this stuff. You still haven't let that thing go. You're talking, it's almost like the Al Bundy. If anybody remembers, what was the name of that show? Love and Marriage? No, I forget.
Love and Marriage?
Whatever that name.
Al Bundy.
But Al
They know the
Bundy,
name.
he would talk about what he did when he was a high school football star, and everything was about the past, but he wasn't living out in the present this glorious, magnanimous, great life that he had in the past.
Yeah.
Likewise with forgiveness, it's got to be something that you continue to do because you need it for yourself. As we're talking about, you're healing your part, you're forgiving your partner because it's a part of your healing.
Right.
And in order for you to stay in a good place, it's something that you have to make a part of your life.
Absolutely. And forgiveness does not mean
Married with children, thank you. Appreciate
yes, married
that.
children. And when you're operating with forgiveness, that doesn't mean that you have to accept future bad behavior.
Right.
Because that's the expectation. Like, you've forgiven me. So now when I call you on stuff, you're like, well, you didn't forgive me. Well, you're still doing the same
You're
bad
still
thing.
doing it.
Right. So I have forgiven you. I have made the decision to forgive. And if you understand that forgiveness, even though it is a gift I'm giving to the person that doesn't deserve, it's for me. It's my walk. It's my heart. Right? And that doesn't mean that I have to continue to accept bad behavior.
And to that point, forgiveness comes with new expectations. Forgiveness comes with new boundaries and principles to guide what the relationship will look like in the future. You don't forgive and then don't change anything in the relationship and they do it again and you forgive, and then you don't change anything in the relationship and they do it again and you forgive. No, that's a sick cycle of craziness. Like, when things happen, you need a new norm, right?
Yes.
You need to set up a new parameter and new guidelines to make this thing work so that it doesn't happen again. And I think a lot of times when we just quickly forgive or engage in cheap forgiveness, we're teaching our partner that what they did, no consequences. Okay, I have permission to do it again. So no. So forgiveness is not an isolated issue. It comes with other components involved to ensure the success of your relationship.
Absolutely. Number 5, forgiveness is not one decision. And we talk about this all the time. It actually starts with a decision. And that is the big key. In the program that we have, the Moving Forward program, we talk about this in our forgiveness module, that the power of decision is huge. Many of us actually rest in indecision about it because we have all these preconceived notions about forgiveness and we refuse to operate in it. We just have a refusal. But when you make the decision to forgive, that's the first step on the forgiveness journey. And let me tell you something. Everybody's journey looks different because everybody's trauma is different, and you don't know when the triggers are going to hit and how they're going to look. You don't know how that experience is going to be. So that is why it's really helpful when you have a committed couple that's working together through the forgiveness journey when there was an offense. Because if you hurt me and I'm on this forgiveness journey by myself, it's going to take me so much longer to heal. Because I'm not dealing with somebody who's sensitive to what I'm going through. They're taking offense that I'm still hurt and I'm still going through based on what you did. I'm on my forgiveness journey. I've made my decision and my commitment, but I'm going through some things. But you, as the offending partner, take my hurt as an offense now.
Right, exactly.
Because you're just wanting me to get over it. You said you forgave me, now get over it. There is no just getting over it.
And you're not sensitive. And this is where empathy comes in, right? And forgive me for being redundant because I say it all the time, but empathy is seeing with someone else's eyes hearing with someone else's ears and feeling with someone else's heart. And a lot of times when you just don't get it, like, why are they still struggling? Move on. Let's just get past this. You're not sensitive to their journey and their experience.
Yes.
And you know what we've learned? True remorse, true repentance comes when you finally get and understand what it is your partner is going through. As long as you're emotionally detached and have no clue, you'll never be able to get it. Maybe intellectually you may be able to quite understand it, but you need to feel what they feel. And when you feel what they feel, that's when all of a sudden the big aha moment comes and you're able to deal with them as they're going through their journey. Now, it's true that some people choose to remain stuck. We talked about being a victim and having a victim's mentality. We talked about the benefits of not wanting to heal and how it serves them and how it's self-serving. So if that's the situation, that's different. But if somebody genuinely wants to overcome the struggle that they're going through, you have to be there. The offender, you have to be there as someone who helps your partner heal. I created this mess. I got to help fix and heal this
Yes,
mess.
sir. Yes, absolutely. Number 6, forgiveness is not a feeling. And lean in and listen to this, because this is a big one. This will really help you if you actually have a mind to forgive. Like, you have a heart, you want to, but you just don't feel it. You're not ready yet. And I hear that a lot. It's not ever going to feel right. You're never going to feel like forgiving this person. It, again, is a decision that you make, and it is a decision that you have to commit to because it's a long-term journey. Actually, making the decision may bring about the feeling.
There it is.
It actually comes from the inside
Boom.
out, right? So you facing your spouse every day and sitting in indecision and withholding emotions and holding on to the grudge, that's the feeling that you're experiencing. Though no one can say to you, well, after you make that decision to forgive, you're gonna feel great, you're gonna feel wonderful. I can't tell you that because I don't know your journey. I don't know your trauma. But what I can tell you is that the further and further you get away from it after you make that decision, you think about if you get in a boat, right? And you float away from the land. You can see the land for a certain amount of time, right? You can make out all the shapes of everything. You can see people walking on the beach. But the further you get away from it, it gets fuzzier and fuzzier and fuzzier. And you have like a loss of connection with the land. And it's similar with offenses and wounds. You think about any surgery you've ever had. That sucker hurts. Okay, as soon as the medication wears off, you start to feel the sutures and it hurts. But the longer you get away from it, the better it feels, and that's what can be guaranteed.
And I think, going back to it's not a feeling, the challenge is, as humans, we're feeling-oriented people. We base everything on a feeling. I use the example all the time. I have to get up at 7 o'clock. My alarm goes off. I'm so tired and exhausted. I don't feel like getting up, so I click the snooze button.
There you go.
Then the next day, 7 o'clock, I have a burst of energy. I feel like I can run a marathon, so you get up and go. And so when you base major decisions on a feeling, you become a slave to that feeling.
That's real.
And so sometimes you have to do things beyond. Listen, successful people do what unsuccessful people aren't willing to do. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like getting up, but I'm getting up because I got to get to the gym. I got to work out. I don't feel like putting in a 12-hour shift today and working overtime, but I got to make it happen. I got to get these. Like, you have to not be a slave to your feeling and realize that, to your point, when you do what you need to do, it creates the feeling that you were waiting for eventually in the first place.
So true, Hassani. Oh my God, there was another point I wanted to jump on, but I lost it that quick. So anyway, we're going to move on to the next
Well, we
one.
have a lot of comments
do we
here.
go? Let's jump.
Oh my
Jump
God.
in,
So
jump in.
number one,
Oh.
the replication of the same behavior forgiven makes the cycle of insanity a reality. No one wants nor deserves that. Forgiveness is for the betrayed, not the offender.
That's right. That perfectly stated. Forgiveness is for the betrayed, not for the offender, but it is a gift that they receive. So there should be no expectation. See, when the offender has grown and developed, the person that hurt, the offender is a tough word, but whenever there was an offense, when that person has grown, they get to a point where they have rectified and reconciled with God, they're improving, they're doing what they're supposed to do, and they no longer expect forgiveness. Their focus is on showing and proving that they're a new person, that the person that they hurt can trust them, that these things will never happen again. The forgiveness comes as a gift.
There it is.
But the expectation, you should forgive me, is way off.
There it is. Even Steven says, excellent point. Gift from the injured to the
Yes,
injurer
sir.
that they do not deserve.
That's my point.
Very, very, very true. Good morning. May the Lord continue to bless all of us. Yes, I appreciate that. Listen, guys, we appreciate your comments. This is another one. This is good to hear. Helps me to know that I'm heading on the right path and that these emotions can still be normal while striving for forgiveness.
Absolutely.
This is a serious thing. The process of forgiveness is not cookie cutter. Forgiveness is a process that is specific to the hearts and minds of the offended. Yeah, very good point. I would say you're right, because the way it shows up and manifests in one person is different than what somebody else is experiencing. There are general principles and guidelines and a lot of stuff that we're talking about. But guess what? Point 3 may work for you, but
Right.
point 2 works for you.
That's right.
Right? So you're right. In that context, it's not cookie cutter, but there is a pathway. And one thing that we're excited about, when people are offended, like for instance, when we get calls all the time about people who need counseling and we're hearing the stories and hearing the trauma and hearing what they're going through, I'm like, yeah, thank you, that's good. And they're like, what's good about that? Well, it's good because I'm hopeful, because there's nothing that I heard you say thus far that threw me off, that made me scratch my head, that made me say, oh my God, this is beyond my ability to guide them. No, you're telling me things that we've heard countless times, which means that a pathway has been created for you, and it's about getting on the right path, going in the right direction to get to your final destination. And forgiveness is a journey that we can help guide you through. And guess what? How you will feel when you reach that destination, when you're truly free, when you've made the decision, and the feelings and emotions of hatred and anger and distress and vitriol, all that has been released, it
Yeah.
just puts you in an amazing
And
place.
another point to make to piggyback off of that is that honestly, the feeling is really in the journey. That's where the feeling exists. You think about every goal that you accomplish, right? It's that whole fear wall that you have to face. Because the reason why people don't forgive is because they're afraid. They don't forgive because they're afraid. If I forgive, this person will do it again. If I forgive, then I won't have anybody to blame for my hurt. If I forgive. So there's all these reasons why we hold on to unforgiveness. But when we move past the fear, and that's what you were saying earlier, that most people who are successful, they do things scared, right? And it's in the doing. That's the feeling. That's the feel good. Once you accomplish the goal is accomplished. Now you got a new goal. You got to have a new goal to strive for, right? Anybody who's ever tried to achieve anything big, you get that moment, you won, and then there's a low. The feeling is in the journey. So making the decision to forgive, getting on that path and getting with people who understand that journey and how to navigate you through it, that is where the feel good is.
Couple more comments. I come from a family of unforgiving people who hold everything in and not deal with issues. You know, that's so true. One of the things that we're going to be doing in the Last Chance Weekend for those who are really interested is going through forgiveness in such a comprehensive way, and not just teaching a lesson, but taking you through the journey. When we're working with couples, one of the things that we always have to discuss is your forgiveness history. What family dynamic do you come from? What has been your history with forgiveness? Because if you've struggled with it for years, that gives me an indication of how you'll be able to function in terms of dealing with forgiveness with your spouse. And so I tell you, we inherit a lot of things, a lot of good from our family, a lot of bad from our family. That's what we call that family marinade. And so if you come from a family, or you come from a historical pattern where unforgiveness has been a main part of your makeup, your disposition, and how you treated things, it's not too late to pivot and course correct. Because listen, it is an intangible thing that you need to have in your life continually, not just with your spouse, but with your children, not just with your children, but with your coworkers, not just with coworkers, but with strangers, with everyone. It's a necessary thing that you need to get to a better place.
Absolutely. Number 7, your road to forgiveness is your own. And, you know, take that on big time, because people are always saying things to folks that are just so way out of line. One of my clients shared with me recently that her family is saying, you should just get over it by now. She had recently lost her daughter, okay, tragically. And people, it's been months now, and people are saying, you should be over it. You should just get over it. So insensitive. How can you tell somebody how long it's going to take them to heal? You don't know their trauma. You don't know the connection. So the journey to forgiveness is 100% your own. That is why what Hassan was saying is so important about getting with somebody who is navigating you through the process, because we listen to hear what you're going through, so that we say, okay, here, right here, you need to pivot. Okay, here I see a landmine I want you to avoid. Okay, stop here, pause, ponder there. This right here, this right here, this is good. We need you to dig a little bit more there. That is the journey, and it's so unique. You need to get on that path. That's what we do here at Couples Academy. I like the music background.
Well, you know, forgive me. Forgive me for being low music. But guys, I hope this is helping you. There's so many of you who are struggling with how do I forgive? Should I forgive? There's so many mental barriers that are getting in the way from you doing what is necessary for your healing. And yes, it is for you, but it's also for your partner. It's for your family. Guess what? Your individual forgiveness is for your children. You are leaving a legacy, and your life and your marriage is on full display. Your children have a front row seat to what you do. And what they see you do, they will mirror, because children have a tendency of mirroring what is modeled for them. So understand that if you're struggling with forgiveness, this is where the power of God comes in. You know what I've noticed, Danielle? There's so many people that we counsel who have a strong belief in God, but you know who struggle to forgive the most? The ones who have no belief in God. The ones who are atheists, the ones that are not sure about, I don't know, I think there's something up there, but I don't know about it, I don't rely on it. And it is a supernatural ability to forgive, because in your nature, in your flesh, you don't want to do it.
That's real.
You want to hold on to the hurt. You want to hold on to the pain. You always want to remind them. You never want to let that thing go. And when you submit to a greater power higher than yourself, that greater power gives you the ability to do what you can't even do in your own natural
That's
self.
so true. It's not for us to seek vengeance. The Bible says vengeance is mine. And I think about the story in the Bible where there are many times when God sent folks to go and warn someone, y'all better stop it. Y'all about to get burnt down, tore up, and killed. And they warned them, and they repented, and God's wrath cooled down. He didn't do it. So we can't be wanting vengeance and wanting to see the devastation and destruction of somebody else. We need to get on our own road to recovery and embrace that process so that we become who God has called us to be.
All right,
That's
guys.
what this is all about.
Got a quick commercial. Be right back in just a second. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Back, guys. Welcome back. Listen, if you're liking what you're seeing with these flyers going by, let us know. We're super excited. We're doing an entire rebrand of our website. There have been some issues. We've been hacked. You guys know what that's about. So we have a whole new website coming up. And I guess by tomorrow, actually, we'll have those pages up for you to be able to get access to some of those products that we've been showing you. But it's just been some teasers. Also, guys, I just want to remind you to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button so that you do not miss a show. And guess what tomorrow is? What's tomorrow? Is tomorrow Friday?
Friday.
It's Friday.
I'm like, what's tomorrow?
Which
Yes.
means that it's Q&A. So get your questions ready now. Show up with questions. Don't have us waiting and making stuff up. It's a great show. Tell everybody to join in. We're going to answer all your questions tomorrow.
All right, guys. Love you. See you.
Well, it's another Q&A Friday. Did you get stuck?
I feel like I'm in a different location, so I'm trying to
We
get
didn't
used
know what
to
was going on. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Couples Academy Show. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Hassani.
And we are so happy to join you from a foreign location. Obviously, this isn't our usual typical because we actually had the opportunity to spend some time with some family. We haven't been able to do that. We have been socially safe and distant, all up in the same house.
Exactly.
Eating, enjoying, celebrating family, and it's been a huge blessing because it's just been so long.
Yeah. So we decided to get on the road, do a road trip, go to a safe, undisclosed location.
Nobody's here but us.
That's right. You
And
can't
they
get any
said they
safer than
cleaned it.
that.
They said they cleaned it well.
yeah,
They
yeah.
said that they have other sanitary precautions that they're taking, and we are believing that in faith.
So it's the day after Thanksgiving, guys. How was your
feeling?
Thanksgiving?
How you feel? I should have taken a picture of you yesterday because yesterday Hassani was looking glazed over. He was gone. Because guess what? You only eat like this once a year, right? So you were
Right.
like, I'm gonna go in, and then tomorrow we'll behave. But we had some. What did we have? We had some good food.
We had some good food.
Oh,
We
my
had turkey,
goodness.
of
Turkey
course. We
was
had the
good.
cranberry sauce. We
Oh,
had the
excellent.
stuffing. See now, wait a minute. Is it stuffing,
Stuffing or
or dressing?
dressing?
We want to know because I've been saying stuffing all my life, and then I read something that said no, it's dressing. I'm like,
So maybe
I
it's
thought
only dressing if it's cornbread. I never heard people say cornbread stuffing. I hear them say cornbread dressing.
I've never heard cornbread dressing.
No?
I thought dressing you put on your salad, and stuffing is what you stuff the turkey
I
with,
thought-
with cornbread stuffing.
See, I always felt disconnected from my culture because whenever I would get around African Americans, they would be saying stuff that we just didn't say in our house. So I heard that African American folks say traditionally
Well, what kind
dressing.
of culture did you have in your house?
Just a hodgepodge. I mean, we were pasta people, Italian food. Like we didn't really do. I didn't come up eating soul food. I just didn't come up eating that all. Really.
So soul is dressing and non-soul is
The
stuffing?
point, I don't know, but my point is, I just saw a survey that said that black folks say dressing,
Well,
and others,
I may have
including
lost
everybody
my black
else,
card 'cause I've never
says stuffing. I don't know.
I don't know.
But y'all can weigh in. Oh, we got some responses. So Bobby says stuffing if it's in the turkey.
Right, okay.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
but stovetop stuffing you don't put in a turkey.
right, you don't. What if you're not stuffing the turkey?
I
Then
don't
it's
know,
called
folks.
dressing. Y'all have to
I
help
don't
us
know.
figure that
I
out. But
don't
guess
know.
what? We were eating some either stuffing or dressing by stovetop.
Something like
and
that.
that's another thing. That's another fail. We're not supposed to be eating stovetop. We're supposed to be making our
Exact-
stuffing.
Something like that. But listen, hopefully you enjoy your Thanksgiving meal. We thought it was comical. We came across some items that people were actually eating and had the nerve to put together. We wanted to show you a couple. So here we have right here, I thought this was interesting. This is a bologna cake with ranch cream cheese icing on top of crackers. Now, I don't know about you, but I would have passed right by that particular item on the table. I don't know, but
You really can't do that. Like if you're at your in-laws' house, which you were at your in-laws' house, it would be super disrespectful.
Well-
if Auntie Roshika made the bologna cake and you didn't even taste it.
there would be
How
some
rude.
hurt feelings up in that
How
house.
rude. We got some comments in here. Kiara says.
Well, oh, okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Can you take that off?
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I debate of stuffing or dressing.
I say stuffing. Exactly, stuffing.
stuffing.
That's what it is. It's stuffing.
Okay. Can we do a couple
Go
more?
ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so Letitia says stuffing all
Stuffing
the way.
all the way.
Okay.
All right.
Heather says, so this was my first real holiday home alone without any kids. They're all grown and moved out and being by myself. How do you deal with an estranged partner during the holidays? I have spent the last 10 years of the holiday with his family, and now I'm not really welcome there. We're going to get to this question in a second because we're going to keep it light for just a few more minutes. Okay, so let's get that on hold.
Yeah,
Go.
that's another one. We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
But Craig's Thanksgiving dinner. Now, that's the whole Thanksgiving dinner in a
Well,
can.
here's the deal. Like some folks, you know, if you didn't have a chance to do it, if you were quarantined, some states shut completely down, right? And nobody was making Thanksgiving dinner.
That's the justification for that.
Craig's
mess?
got you covered.
No,
Craig has
sorry,
got
Craig.
you covered.
I didn't talk to Craig and them, and no. So see now we've heard about goat meat, but a goat head.
Dude, in Iceland, this is a delicatessen. This is the reason why we canceled the trip to go to Iceland. When
This
we
is
were thinking about going, I don't know when it was, but we were thinking about going, and then I went and looked at the food because for me, a trip anywhere also has to be about the
This
food.
is true.
Well, in Iceland, this is a main staple, goat face, and supposedly it's amazing. I actually watched on the Food Network this guy pick all the succulent meat out of the cheek of the goat face, and he said it was amazing. I don't know,
Yeah,
but I
we
love some
canceled
curry
that
goat
trip.
now.
I don't think
don't
we'll
mess
make it to
around.
Iceland.
Don't
That's
get it
just not gonna
twisted.
happen.
Curry goat is delicious, so I'm assuming the face is great too.
Next. Now, you know, this was a gentleman who went all the way in on his plate. That looks like a platter plate. That doesn't look like a regular sized plate.
Yes.
So he's got the turkey, he's got the stuffing or dressing, depending upon how you grew up.
He got two
He's got the
legs.
mashed potatoes. And then is that bean casserole?
Can we just talk about what's missing? Where are the candied yams on this plate? Where are the collard greens on this plate? What else is missing on this plate?
Cornbread?
Where's the cornbread on the plate? Where's the gravy? Where's the gravy on the
Yeah,
plate?
there's a lot missing on this plate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
I don't
and
know.
then for dessert, if you ever want to get into a fight with your family over dessert, because a lot of times people do fight over desserts, this is one way to do it. Like if you do
Oh
something
my-
like this
oh
is
my
just
God.
straight ignorant,
Who
right?
does that?
People do this.
I saw a show the other day where somebody took a pie and just started scooping it out, and I'm like, this is such TV because somebody would get slapped. My mom and them would slap you down if you go to the pie with a fork and spoon and just start eating. Come on now.
So that was Thanksgiving. I hope that your Christmas meal will be better than these Thanksgiving items that
And I
we
hope
just
you
saw.
recover. Like, you know, the next, right after the meal, you feel so terrible. We had to go for a walk. We were like, why did we do
We did a couple
this?
laps.
And, you know, in hindsight, because unless you eat like this on a regular, you probably didn't do too much damage. Like, we had one plate of food and we were like, But the recovery time, the next day, do you feel better or do you feel like worse? And if you feel better, are you going to do round 2, 3, and 4? That's the question.
That's the question. Well, listen, guys, this is Q&A. We wanted to start out with something light. Listen, as soon as we come back from this quick commercial break, we will get right into your questions. Be right back. All right, guys, we're back. Listen, before we get into the questions, we just want to make you aware once again, we are quickly approaching the last event that we'll be doing for the new year, for this year. And as you know, we've been talking about it. It is the last chance weekend, and you still have a chance to sign up for this. It'll be December 11th through the 13th, 2020. The link is right there in the description of the video. People are actually signing up and getting ready and doing their pre-work in preparation for what we're going to do. So if that is you, if you're in need to take your relationship to the next level, if you're vacillating back and forth, if for you, you're like a decision away from throwing in the towel, calling it quits and giving up, the question is, have you read a book? Have you gone to a seminar? Have you done anything, a retreat? If you've done none of those things, then you need to do this, because this is your opportunity to change the trajectory of your marriage for the rest of your days. So sign up today, set up a discovery call. Let's get on the phone. Let's talk through it to get you in here so that you can have a 2021 that you will be more than satisfied with. Does that make
Absolutely.
sense?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get into the questions,
Hey,
Danielle.
Takesha said, if you don't want to be shunned by Big Mama, just say dressing. Okay, well, you know.
All right.
Well, we'll see. Let's see. Thank you for your patience, Heather. She says, so this is my first real holiday without my grown children being at home, and my partner and I are estranged. I spent the last 10 years going to holidays at his family's house, and now I'm not really welcome there, and it's really hard. So how do I deal? And, you know, that's what we were talking about, I think it was yesterday, right? Where we were sharing how some of the difficulties of just getting together for the holidays in general, right? And in your case, you probably would like to stick with the traditions that you've always had, but because of the shifting now, it is time to create new tradition for yourself. So this is the thing. Everybody has a grieving period and a season where we're going through and we're feeling it. And there's nothing wrong with having that moment in that season of grieving. But then we got to pick ourselves up from our bootstraps and we got to do something different, right? So what I would not want for you, Heather, is for next year you to be sitting at home by yourself because still you're wishing that you could be with your family, which that's a thing of the past. Now it's time to begin new rituals for you. And that might mean getting together with friends and finding some connections with your family, your own family, that maybe you haven't done that in a while because you've been married. But it's about establishing new tradition, new culture for yourself now.
Yeah, when we were in church on Sunday, what a powerful message that was given. And the name of the sermon was Get Used to Different. And that's what I would encourage you to do. That's what I would encourage all of us to do, because there were certain traditions and customs that we've had in a season of our life. And then as we enter into new seasons, it requires us doing something new. We can't hold on to the old. We have to celebrate the old and then begin to embrace something different. So, you know, there's relationships that are for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And so it's important to determine the nature of that relationship. And if it's for a season and you're in a new season, you want to create new traditions and new rituals that will serve you in this season of your life.
And you know what the good news is, just thinking about this, is that we're all actually going through that together right now with COVID. Many of us could not get with our family members. I have some friends whose parents are in senior citizen facilities and they usually all get together and they can't anymore. They have to stay separate in quarantine. I have a friend that actually visits her mom through the window of the nursing home, and that's getting used to different, right? So we're all literally adjusting and getting used to different, and I think it goes across the board for all of us. We're all dealing with it, so you're not dealing with it alone.
Absolutely.
Gigi says, "Good morning. When someone says dressing, it always refers to cornbread dressing. It's a Southern thing." See, I said that. That's what I was thinking.
And cornbread dressing, to be honest, is better than stovetop stuffing
I like it.
all
I
day
like
long.
it. Okay, let's get some questions, guys. But in the meantime, Danae says, "That's just disrespectful. My son did that to my pie yesterday, and I wanted to grab his collar." You
Just
did
his
not
collar you wanted to
let
grab?
Your son
Just his collar?
cut a slice of pie out the center of the pie. Now what?
So
You
yeah.
should have grabbed him
Handle-
up and lifted him
handle
up on
that.
the wall. Grab his collar and then lift him up on the wall and let him know. His feet should have been like 10 inches off the floor. Okay, we got Young God that says, "Me and my wife had our first Thanksgiving at our home and they loved it."
There it is.
That's
Sounds
nice.
like a new relationship and new traditions and things of that nature. Listen, guys, we hope that you enjoyed it. Next Thanksgiving, this was the 400th Thanksgiving of this country. Next year will be
Wow.
401. Make sure you make next year's better than this year. But as you know, this is Friday, so come with your questions. I know we get questions all week long when we're talking
Yeah.
about the topics that we're talking about. And Friday is the day that we dedicate everything just to that. So don't be shy. Ask the question. We are here to serve you. What are you going through? Is it something dealing with your relationship, communication, intimacy, finances, in-laws, parenting? What is it? And we will do our best to address it. Some of you are single and alone. Some of you are dating. Some of you are in a committed courtship. Some engaged and some married for several years. And so as we go through different seasons of our life, there are all types of new situations and circumstances we're dealing with. And all it takes is an aha moment, a revelation, a new strategy or technique that'll change everything for you. So ask the question now so that we can get to you. All right, here we go. We have something from Clarence Jackson. "I keep telling my wife, you have to love herself first and forgive herself before she can truly love somebody else." Okay, that's true. We talk about the three relationships that we have. There's the relationship we have with God, that's our vertical relationship. Then there's the relationship we have with ourselves, that's our internal relationship. Third is the relationship we have with others, those are our horizontal relationships. And oftentimes we put so much of a focus on these horizontal relationships, but haven't developed the foundation, the one with ourselves and the one with God. When those things are intact, you know how to love and you know how to be loved. See, a lot of times people are in bad situations and put up with a whole lot of mess because they don't even love themselves. So if I don't love me, then why would I expect you to? Or how would I know what real love looks like when it's coming in my life? And so you have to have confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, love for self, and as a foundation to have a healthy relationship.
You know what? I'm wondering how people dealt with the triggers. You know, we talked about just getting around family in the holidays, and there are folks that you have to avoid. We gave so many tips and techniques on how to avoid all the landmines. That's what we gave you on Wednesday. So I wanted to hear some responses from people. I wanted folks to come back and say, "Look, it worked." You know, when such and such approached me, I did the walk, and I came back, I cooled off. We sat at the kid table to avoid this group. You know, there were so many things that you could do to keep things calm. And we had a very eventless, a Thanksgiving. There were no problems, no arguments, no conflict, no confrontation. It was so good to be together. And maybe many of you had that same holiday. Maybe it was so long since we saw each other. And what ends up happening is that, we take things for granted when we just get to do things. And, for many of us, we did not get to go and see family because certain states were on quarantine. I know actually today there are more states on lockdown, but we got out of Dodge just in the nick of time, and Georgia isn't really putting serious, restrictions on folks. But we take things for granted, and so this time I think everybody was so happy to be together.
Yeah.
It was just low drama.
And I think because of the fact that we've been so socially isolated, and it's not like for the last 8-9 months, you technically have not been in the presence of another person, but when something... Maybe some people,
Yeah.
and that's why people are suffering from depression and the temptation to commit suicide, all types of anxiety, all types of mental and emotional stuff as a result of this pandemic. But beyond not technically being able to be in someone's presence, the idea that you can't, the idea that The world is saying stay home, and people are nonconformists. People want to do the opposite of what they feel like they're being forced to do. So the idea of escaping and getting away and connecting with family, it has more meaning, it has more purpose. It's not just another gathering.
Right.
It's a gathering in a season where there's so much going all around us.
Right.
We want to take advantage of every moment that we have because we don't know what tomorrow may bring.
And depending on who you are, you're going to follow certain rules, and other folks are lax in rules. Like, for example, we're here in North Carolina, and I was told that since we're gathering, and we're not living in the same household, we all have to wear masks. That was a mandate given by North Carolina. So that means that we actually had to wear masks in the house with our families. Some folks are conformists. Some folks are non-conformists, right? Some folks were not allowing people in the house. Some people are saying you need to be quarantined 14 days before. Before we left town, there was, right at the exit to get on the highway, there was a COVID testing station. I've never seen so many cars at the rapid test station ever before in my life with all these foreign plates. So I'm like, oh, okay. They're coming into town. They're getting their rapid test to make sure that they don't have COVID before they see their family. So there's just so much that we're doing that I think should at least make us more grateful, and keep the drama low. We're so used to being able to come and go freely without worry, not worrying about masks and gloves and hand sanitizer, that now we just want to enjoy each other.
Absolutely. All right, we have another comment. And if this is getting choppy, it's because of the Wi-Fi connection in this part of the country that we're at, but just bear with us, guys. Good morning. Thank you for sharing and for transparency. And let me just say, we appreciate you saying that. That is something that you want to begin to have in your relationship. We talk about communication, right? Well, one of the keys to having healthy communication in your relationship is the ability to open up, to share, and to be transparent. When you are transparent, when you have decided to become vulnerable, it's like emotionally becoming naked with your partner. Now, a lot of us who are married, we have no problem becoming physically naked. That's easy, right? But to share my heart, to share my mind, to share my thoughts, to share my emotions, that's a little bit more challenging for a lot of people for a number of different reasons. And so if you don't have that in your relationship, then you're limiting the potential of the level of oneness and closeness and connectivity that you can have. Because intimacy and transparency should be one of the things that separates this primary relationship from every other relationship on the planet. Now, of course, you have close friends, you have family members, you have people that you connect with, and you can share and you can connect. But there should be no closer relationship than the relationship between a husband and a wife. So I hope that transparency will be the new norm. We talk about get used to different. We need to begin to do different in the area of the way that we connect with one another that will take our relationships to the next level.
Yes, fellowship says yes, no drama. So it sounds like most of us had an uneventful holiday weekend, which is great. And I want to piggyback on what Hassan is saying about transparency. We do appreciate you saying that. It's the only way we're able to do what it is that we do, being able to be honest and just open about what's going on. Because for the longest time, Hassani and I, when we were looking for somebody to look to and say, do they have it all together? All we saw was devastation, disaster, drama. We didn't really have anybody to go to that would tell us, listen, this is what you need to get prepared for. Like when you walk into marriage, don't think it's all rose-colored glasses, okay? We didn't have anybody to keep it real. So we don't show up here perfect and acting like we have it all together. We will tell you when we don't have it together. We're so transparent because that is what we needed. And we assume that you need the same exact thing. That transparency is what gives you some hope. Because when you get around people, and this is the power of doing group, like when we do our group work, is that you get a whole bunch of couples in a room. That really transformed us when we did our sessions to get us back to where we needed to. When I started hearing other people's stories, their transparency, when I started being able to have an earshot into other people's norms, I was just like, wow, okay, this is an area right here I really need to work on. Or, oh God, it ain't that bad. Or, maybe I could do a little more here and there. It just helps you. It's iron sharpening iron. It allows you to prune off all the dead leaves, but you don't even know you got dead leaves if there's nobody to look at. So, you know, it is an honor for us to be a reflection. It is an honor for us to be a beacon of light. That's why we do what we do. So just keep tuning in. Matter of fact, this is a good point to ask you guys to make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, because we want more people to hear about this. And we really appreciate you for joining us on the day after Thanksgiving, because we know you are tired from all that tryptophan in that turkey.
Speaking about group, here's the reality. What group are you a part of? What community are you in? A lot of times couples feel like they're on an island all by themselves, that there are no other couples that they can connect with, that there are no other couples that they can relate to, that there are no other couples that they can speak to and allow them to speak into them. There's power in community. And we've said this countless times. Yes, it takes a village to raise a child, but it does keep a community to keep a marriage intact. And we love being a part of a community called Couples Academy. And one of the ways that we demonstrate, you know, the power of this community is through this show every single morning. So that's why we want you to tune in and share it with others, because what happens is if you're listening to something and something resonates with you, you should be able to have another couple that you can talk about and say, did you hear a segment today? They were talking about such and such. What are your thoughts on that? And you get to glean from other people's experiences. There's so many things that you can do to enhance different areas of your relationship when you find out what other couples are doing. And so there's power in community. So listen, be a part of it. And that's what we're here for. Go to couplesacademy.org. Somebody just asked, what's the website?
Couplesacademy.org. I was just going to say put up the top. But here we got something from Young. It says, me and my wife are transparent, but it's just hard to understand each other. And I think Hassani was speaking a little bit about that. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, there are many reasons why we withhold information from each other. And for many, it's this, that there's not a safe space. You know, you don't have a safe space. If your partner knew who you really were or how you really think, they wouldn't be able to handle it. And then there are other cases where people are just hiding things because they're lying. And you can't be transparent when you are lying and not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So, you know, this is the stuff that we work with couples to figure out. Call us. We offer a 15-minute discovery call so that we can give you some tips and find out if there's anything we could do to help you learn how to communicate with each other, because communication is the principal thing. If you can't talk to your spouse, you can't seldom do anything else. You can't resolve a problem. You can't plan for the future. You can't do much of anything without communication.
Absolutely.
Okay. We got something from Lions down here. It says, I am looking to move forward after my wife's 2-year affair, but she deleted her history text and internet. How can I believe she is being transparent? You want to jump on that?
Well, number one, that's not an example of being transparent.
Yeah.
People do have a tendency of deleting, because if I delete all the evidence and all the things that happen, you'll never know, and we won't be able to address it, and mum's the word. And see, the reality is, and I don't mean to sound redundant with this, but when it comes to the discovery phase where you're discovering what happened in the past, you need a third party to guide you through that process. See, the seat that we sit in, we've been in this seat for a number of years. And so every scenario that you can think of, we've come across. So a lot of times we can tell, and it's not like we're human lie detector tests, but we can tell when someone is being dishonest, when they're minimizing, when they're, I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember. Like, those are tactics that people use. And a lot of times they don't want to share those details for a number of different reasons, but two in particular. Sharing the details is they believe gonna cause further hurt and pain, and they don't want to do that. So therefore they avoid having those conversations and will hold on to those truths for dear life. But another reason that people deny this type of information and what they've done, they don't want to be reminded of it, because they feel trapped in their own shame for what they've done, or they feel trapped in the feeling of guilt for what they've done to you. And by avoiding the conversation, they avoid feeling uncomfortable within themselves. And it's almost like they want to cleanse or bleach their history and move forward as if it never happened, or we don't need to address it. But it is a part of the healing process. You know, we're going to talk about this at some point, but there is something called the affair story. And if you are the betrayed spouse, in order for you to heal and move forward, it is important for you to understand your partner's affair story, because you can learn from that affair. What went wrong in our marriage story that led to the affair story? Yeah. So you have the affair story, You have your marriage story, and then you have your own individual life story. So there's so many things happening all at the same time. And if I don't have these missing pieces to the puzzle, I won't be able to get the clarity and closure I need to move forward.
Good. Darlene says, could someone have an affair just to do something without having feelings for the person they're having the affair with, I guess, and just cut it off? You know, my response to that is yes, and add that to the 100,000 other reasons why people have affairs, right? I mean, yeah, you can rationalize, I'm just going to have an affair with this person because I have no feelings for this person, and I'm just going to get off what I need to get off and then cut the person off. None of that justifies it or makes it right. None of that is an antidote to the problems that are within the relationship that you actually have that would allow you to step out on them, have a secret affair on your partner. You see? So people have all kinds of excuses and reasons why they step out, and in their mind it's justified and it makes sense why I'm going to do it. I am angry with my spouse. I have no connection with my spouse. My spouse doesn't give me enough sex. My spouse doesn't give me the type of sex that I want. All these reasons that we make up as a justification to begin to lie, literally to diminish our character, right? Begin to lie, cheat, and steal. Because that's what that is. That's what the devil does. He lies and cheats and steals. Well, you're lying because you got to lie to have an affair. You're cheating because you're robbing on your spouse. And you're stealing because you're robbing your spouse of fidelity, which is something that you committed from the beginning. So we can make a gazillion excuses. The answer to your question is yes, but it doesn't make it right and it doesn't justify.
There it is.
Yeah. We have another question? Tamika says, I have been married for 18 years, no children. We always wanted them. He had an affair and there is a child now. He doesn't know how to make it work with us and still be involved. Many false starts. That's an interesting question.
And you know what? We just covered, I think we did a two-part series on when an affair leads to pregnancy. So I would encourage you to go back and listen to that. But you know what? There are going to be 1,001 false starts because who would know what to do? Did you read a book on what to do? There's nothing out there. Have you been through this before and have experience? Probably not. This is the first time you're experiencing this. And that's why you have to connect with, I don't know why people struggle to get help. I don't know why people say, oh, we can figure it out on our own. The whole DIY, do-it-yourself approach, it does not always work. Sometimes you need to rely on somebody else's wisdom and guidance and expertise to take you through that. And we've dealt with several couples who have had that same situation. So if he doesn't know how to make it work and you don't know how to make it work, come to Couples Academy so that we can show you how to make that work.
Okay, we got another comment from Cassandra. She says, we had a blow up yesterday that got unhealthy quick. I was asking for transparency. When I asked why his exes were still on his Facebook, he said it was before me and doesn't matter. He then went to my ended affair. Okay, we can deal with the first part of it. At the end of the day, this is a problem. The fact that he is still holding on to the relationship with the exes. Here's the deal. You know, there are certain scenarios where exes have to be in the picture, especially when there are children involved. That's just something that you can't avoid. In that case, we try to help couples figure out how to do this in a way that is open and involves the primary partner, right? But what doesn't work for one does not work for the other. And that's where we have to stand on all things. And so if it's not working for you, that he's still connected to his exes on Facebook, then it can't work for him. There can't be any justification or reasoning for it unless he's bound by children. And then we need to figure out a way to include you in all communication.
It's just crazy. Like, real talk, to your point, I think the only reason why you would stay connected to an ex is if you have children. Other than that, what are you connecting for? Like, I don't get it. And if you as the partner is not friends with your partner's opposite sex friends, then they need to go, period, point blank, end the discussion. You know, unfortunately, so many people have this attitude, well, listen, I got my life, you got yours. I got my friends, you got yours. How you gonna tell me who I can have in my life and what I can't? I didn't sign up for this. This feels like a prison. Well, guess what, dude, or female, whoever you are, when you got married, it came with a new norm. It came with a culture, okay, a new culture than the one you had before. There are certain things that you have agreed that you're no longer going to do, and you're going to embrace new things. And when it comes to the whole opposite sex friends piece, that is such a huge piece because 9 times out of 10, overwhelmingly, if there's an affair happens with someone you know, not the stranger on the street. It's not like you're walking down the street, oh, you attractive, let's go, and you have sex. If you're paying for it, it's prostitution. If you go away to, say, a vacation and it's a one-night stand, that's rare. Overwhelmingly, it's with people that you're connected with ongoing. And so that's why you have to be real careful about these relationships.
Yeah. I had a comment, but it escaped me. So let's go to the next question. Do we have any other questions? Well, we got a lot of amens we got an amen corner. Yeah, exactly. Get some help, okay? And Rayo says they do because of shame and embarrassment.
I guess that's not why they don't want to talk about the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of shame and embarrassment.
And here's the point that I was going to make about the internet, people staying connected online. You know, I can't tell you how many people have said to me that they have cut off their Instagram and their Facebook because it is addictive, right? And that it is literally leeching and sucking all of their time away. I've heard it said with Marco Polo too. You know, you get on Marco Polo, you get on Facebook, you get to scrolling, you got other things to do, you have other priorities, but next thing you know, you've been sitting on there scrolling and talking and catching up with conversations for hours. Here's the deal. When it comes to blocking, people don't like the word block when it comes to cutting off everyone that has a tie to your indiscretions. That means that you no longer see what's going on in their feed. And you don't want to see that because it is insatiable. It's like an addiction. So even though I have parted ways and I'm trying to reconcile with my spouse, you still get to have an eye shot and be a fly on the wall into your ex-affair partner's life and them yours. And that's not okay, because see what happens is that's when little instant messages are happening and how you doing, and they're sharing pictures with you and having side conversations. When it comes to cutting off the ex-affair partners, you need to have a clean break. That means blocking them so that they can't see what you got going on and you can't see what they have going on.
Absolutely. Here's another question. I'm having a very hard time trying to reconnect with my spouse sexually due to infidelity. I'm not sure what to do. Here's the reality. When we counsel couples, a lot of times both partners have a desire for it, but there's something that keeps them from. It's just like, I don't know, I'm not comfortable. I don't want her to think that I'm forcing, and I don't know if she's ready, and all of these type of things happen. I would say the key to your reconnection, to be quite honest, is intimate conversation. See, when we talk about intimacy, most people think sex, but really what undergirds the sexual connection is the ability to have an emotional connection where you're sharing and you're talking about your vulnerabilities and your fears and your failures and your hopes and your dreams, and you're connecting that way. When you feel comfortable in that space, so the emotional nakedness has to be, to me, much more of a priority than the sexual nakedness, because the sex is an extension of the emotional connection.
Yeah, I think it's about rewinding the tape. You think about in the beginning how that it was all about that intimate conversation and getting to know a person and the discovery and all of that. And so now it's time to rediscover. One of the things that we like to invite couples to do is the sex fast, because just like when it comes to the discovery of an affair, we say don't do anything. That's the first thing you do. Do nothing. Don't make any decisions until you go through this process. Well, it's the same thing with this intimacy piece. For now, take sex completely off the table. That is a huge relief. No sex at all. It's not even on the table. Now we're focusing on intimacy. So that is conversation and touch. Intimate touch. When you were first dating, if you held hands, you felt the sensation and the tingle. Well, you actually need to, re-erect those feelings, those emotions. You need to get to the point where that is tantalizing so that the natural progression takes place. It's the reason why we like to keep young folks away. It's the reason why we go and chaperone them when they're dating, because all they got to do is bump each other and everything is tingling.
That's it.
Well, you need to revive that tingle, because right now everything is in your head about what was and what did they do and what, there's too much overthinking. So like Hassani said, go back to the way it was, start with intimacy and take sex off the table.
Absolutely. Another comment came in. What if bout party have infidelity? You need to retype that. I don't understand what that means. Yeah, not sure. But there was another comment. I know we're experiencing some lag with this Wi-Fi, so just stay with this, guys. Can you help couples? I'm sorry, it's slow. Can you help couples even if we are separated? Absolutely. A lot of times people come to us in a separated state, and we help transition them from separation to a controlled separation, then from a controlled separation back into the same household where they begin to restore their marriage. So guys, listen, I hope that this was helpful today. I hope that you got something out of it. There's a whole lot here. There's a whole lot here that you can begin to chew on over the weekend, to have great conversation with your partner, right along with that turkey, because there's going to be leftovers, right? So listen, this is Friday. This is the weekend. We hope that you do something, if not outside the house, inside the house with your partner. We'll see you on Monday for another great episode. Continue to tune in to the Couples Academy show. Love you guys. That was painful. We need to get that modem.
Huh?
Definitely need to get that.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Fa la 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 la, la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 la, la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel. Fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol. Fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us. La 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 la, la 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 la. Strike the heart band, join the chorus. La 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 la, la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure. While I tell you Yuletide treasure. Hey. Fast away the old year passes. Oh, hail the new year lads and lasses. Oh, sing we joyous all together.
Alrighty, good morning.
We're
Here
back.
we're back.
Because it don't stop. Just because it's Thanksgiving, Turkey Day, stuffing, cranberry, macaroni and cheese. I'm not going to let that slow us down.
Not at all.
No.
Yeah, but you know, guys, it's 26 days to Christmas.
Yes.
And every single day we're going to do a countdown. We're going to do a countdown because we're excited that we're almost there. It's just like Thanksgiving is what you do in the meantime till you get to the main event. Thanksgiving is the appetizer, but Christmas is the main course.
Yes.
And so we're 26 days ago. What are you doing? What are you doing this year during this pandemic for Christmas? Are you traveling? Are you staying home? Are you doing an experience? Are you buying gifts? We all doing something unique and
I
different.
think that a lot of people are talking about giving back and doing things differently because there's been a lot of loss. So you have people thinking about others finally, which was really what we should have been doing the entire time. So I know for me, I'm looking for opportunities for my kids to get involved in blessing others and doing things differently. You know, and
Yep.
we're blessed. We're still
We are.
here, right? To see another day, even through all this crazy crisis and pandemic we're going through, we're still here. So we have so much to be grateful for. Let's share and let's give the gratitude.
Now, guys, I know it looks crazy. We're in an undisclosed location. It's fuzzy, it's blurry. This is a temporary situation. We're not at our headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, but we didn't want this to stop us. So we're going to continue to go on with the show. Before we get there, listen, if you have not signed up, we're talking about Christmas. There's no better gift to give yourself and to give your marriage than a last chance weekend coming up December 11th through the 13th, 2020. It is virtual. You can do it from your home. You can rent, I don't know, a townhouse. You can Airbnb, a
yes.
hotel.
Get a nice, listen, let's get a nice suite hotel Get away from the kids, get your hotel set up, and do the Last Chance weekend. It's the closest thing you're gonna get to a full-fledged intensive, just you and your spouse getting the work done so that you can move into 2021 with power and audacity. And that's what we stand for, the
So sign
audacity
up.
of marriage. Sign up.
Go to the website, couplesacademy.org,
Yes.
set up a discovery call. But today we're talking about dealing with differences in your marriage. This is going to be interesting. Be right back in just a second.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We just want to welcome everybody and say hey to Vashawn, Yashana, Michelle, and Letitia, Timothy. Good to see you, Dee, Rachel. You're always in the cut, girl. Jaguar, hey, Tanya. Good to see you. JD, hello. What's going on, JD? You know we're here for you. Steven, welcome. Mamana, I haven't seen that name before, but welcome to everybody. Hey, Kazia, I see you. Hey, Dejan, welcome everybody. Hi, Clarence. Listen, we really appreciate you guys for tuning in every day. We want to make sure that this gets out to as many people as we can. So just make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And if you didn't get the notification and you only found out because somebody said, hey, they're on, hit the bell. Just ding it, ding the bell. And guess what? Every time we go live, you'll get a notification and you can join us and you won't miss a beat.
So today's topic was inspired by one of you. Oftentimes we like to listen to the audience. We like to listen to our clients. And I got a text regarding a difference of opinion, a difference of viewpoints and perspectives, and oftentimes that can get in the midst of a relationship. And in this particular case, it was a parent to a child. So there's dissension in the home because of who one chose to vote for in this last election.
Oh, gosh.
And when you have different political views inside the same house, it can cause a rift, it can cause a schism, a divide, whatever the term is. And so we see this quite often. This is not the first time we've heard about this. We've seen how brothers and sisters, parents and children, cousins have fallen out with each other over a number of things, one of them being politics. And my thing is, listen, this joker, or whomever, is in office for 4 years, maybe 8. How long has your relationship been established? So a 20-year relationship, a 30-year relationship is done over finito, over something like that.
And I actually know personal people who, and some of y'all out there feel the same way. Like if you know that your friend from 20 years is a Trump supporter, you done cut him off. Difference of opinion. You know, there was a time when we could have a difference in opinion and actually have a conversation and agree to disagree or just see different point of views or all. Now that's kind of gone to the side and it's like if you're not on this team, you're out and we are enemies and we gotta shift that.
We gotta shift that. And it just got me thinking, typically speaking, the reason why 95% of the couples who come to us are coming, either it's some type of crisis situation because of a betrayal or unresolved issues based upon differences that they can't, resolve. One of the key skills in a relationship is conflict resolution.
Yeah.
And so conflict is nothing more than two people in the same space at the same time with two opposing views that they can't seem to resolve. And we've seen all types of people really experience a marital death. Another word for that would be a divorce, because of differences that they couldn't get past. So whether the differences were how we raise our children, or how about something as simple as nutrition, or dress code, or choice of friends, religion, entertainment, habits, idiosyncrasies, financial decisions, work schedules. There's really an incalculable number of things that people allow to cause this huge wedge and ultimately leads to the deterioration of their relationship. And we want to talk about the fact that it's okay that your spouse is different than you because, number one, God made him or her that way. And we talk about this all the time. Adam and Eve, they were the original odd couple. If they were just alike, if they thought alike, if they experienced life the same, perceived life the same way, then one of them would be obsolete. So you need the difference that your partner brings into the mix because it enhances or should enhance the relationship?
I think it's very interesting how the very thing that attracted us into a relationship tends to be the thing that now we are on opposite sides of the spectrum about, and we are divided. So something that you thought was sexy and cute, now you can't stand it and you want that person to change, and that's the big issue. But there are circumstances too where, you know, habits that we pick up along the way, or maybe had the whole time that you overlooked in the beginning, could be something detrimental to your health. Think about like a chain smoker or something like that, you know, and wanting that person to stop for 17 years. So there are some valid reasons why people do want somebody to stop doing something. I think it's about how do we maneuver those situations, because to Hassan's point, we are different. We have different perspectives, and when we become one, a part of us still wants to maintain some level of autonomy and individuality, because we have our own purpose as well. So we have to figure out how to manage those different issues.
And I think that's the key right there, right? So you're two separate individuals coming into a marriage and taking on a new identity. It's the team of we, but the team of we just does not dismiss or devalue me,
It better not.
because I'm still an individual.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, my individuality, my self-expression should complement team we. It
Yeah.
should make team we better.
Right.
But when when me tries to shut down she, then what's going to happen is the integrity of this relationship is going to be compromised, because the power of us is based upon what she brings to the table.
Or if it infringes upon the we, right? Because if my choices that I'm going to make for me now is causing a deficit in the unit, like let's say I decide that I'm going to take out a loan and do something, and I don't need to feel like I need to ask you. Now there's division because my choice is impacting the choices of the unit.
Oh,
So
of
it's
course.
about deciding, okay, we're gonna get into what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's a good point. So we, if not handled correctly, can diminish me,
Yes.
me, her. But when me is on the throne, it compromises the integrity of we.
That's it.
So it's the perfect balance between the two. So how do you deal with these differences? Number one, make a choice, make a decision. You made a decision when you said I do. You knew about their quirks, you knew about their differences, you knew about their idiosyncrasies, you knew about their faults, their flaws, you knew about all that stuff.
And you probably thought, I'm gonna fix that later.
And that's a part of the
I
problem.
see it now, but later on, we're gonna get rid of that. I remember that I had the same thought about these glasses that Hassan used to wear back in the day.
First of all, wait a minute. Whoa, wait. I did wear glasses, and I thought they were fashionable because I didn't need glasses at the time. It's not like I
you
needed.
didn't?
No, I need glasses now.
Oh.
But back in the day, it was more of a fashion.
You know, I
statement.
never knew that. I actually thought that you needed
I
glasses
never
back
needed.
then.
You didn't know me.
I hated those glasses.
Like those Hucklebuckle shoes you used to wear back in the day when I first met you.
They were not Hucklebuckle shoes.
Hucklebuckle shoe. When I first met
They
Danielle,
were trendy.
and we were dating,
I'm
that
gonna have a
trend,
picture.
that trend was over.
They were not over.
You can't find that picture nowhere on Google, on
Actually,
Facebook.
recently I saw those shoes at Aldo. And
Are
I
you
was, yes, and I was just like, oh snap, those are the shoes. But anyway,
I
the
was like,
point
that's
is,
different.
as you can see, we do that. We see things, we're like, yeah, I like that, but that gotta go. Them gotta go. I'm gonna burn those as soon as I get a chance.
Remember that day you were wearing sandals with socks to the beach?
That's a lie. You just straight up lying. You're lying.
Differences.
Anyway, you see how he did. Anyway,
But
you get the point.
You're making a choice.
You
Listen,
should have known from the very beginning, and now you want to try to shift and change them. Like, go ahead. You were saying make the choice. Make the choice to accept.
Right, you're making the choice to say, you know what, I chose you as a life partner,
Yes.
and I'm choosing to really embrace some of the differences that you bring to the table. Number two, you have to choose not to condemn. I think one of the best books that I've ever read in my top 10 is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Chapter 1, it talks about don't criticize, condemn, or complain, because it doesn't work. Nobody likes it. And when you're constantly critiquing and picking your partner apart and condemning them for their choices, you're diminishing them. Now, of all the things that I have done, I mean, you've heard our story before. I was a very critical person, and I would typically do that. And so I don't know if I was condemning you, but in essence, we have a tendency of doing that whether we're critical, whether we're judgmental, and it makes your spouse feel some type of way. And the attempt is to fix them, because in essence, what you're saying is, God made a mistake, and now that I'm in your world, I'm going to fix you and
That's
make
a
you the
good
way I
point.
need you to be.
That is a good point. And I think, there's some wisdom in that. Also, we already know, because we talked about this before, about how the Bible really talks about how murmuring and complaining is an abomination to God. He can't stand it. It's why the children of Israel were, wandering in the where were they? In the wilderness for 40 years. And it actually affects your brain. So the more you murmur and complain, it actually keeps you from being able to solve problems. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, it makes it difficult for you to solve the issues in your life. So don't murmur, don't complain. Get to a place where you can move to resolving.
Absolutely. And the reality is, when you're condemning your partner, you got to realize, wait a minute, you're looking at the speck in somebody else's eye, but you do
And
have
that's
a
what
plank
happens.
in your own.
Whoa, that's what happens. I mean, first of all, it's all of us. Like, nobody gets to really escape that truth, that there's a plank in your own eye when you're complaining. And so that's why this is a big issue. And this is what shuts couples down. That you think you're gonna complain to me about my issues when I see all your issues over here. That's why it just doesn't work. There's so much wisdom in just not complaining, unless you complain into God, because He will listen and He'll make changes. See, that's the difference. When you go into your prayer closet and complain, that's completely legal.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. The next thing you need to do to deal with these differences, ask for forgiveness. Like, real talk, if you've been that critical individual who's always pointing something out, who always has a problem with, who always tries to somehow think that this difference is an abomination to the relationship, and you've been going in on your partner or just nagging and complaining, ask for forgiveness. Make it right. Because if you come into this level of awareness to realize, wait a minute, differences aren't a bad thing. They're actually good. They actually enhance things. And you don't take the time to acknowledge what you have done and the potential damage that you've caused, then it can cause a problem. And it's a simple course correct. It's acknowledging, it's asking for forgiveness, it's repenting, which is turning around, going in an opposite direction, and choosing to do something different.
Very good. Frida has a comment. She says, how do you solve problems without stating the complaint? Good point. Now, stating the complaint and complaining are two different things. If you are stating the complaint, to me, it's about, okay, let's set the stage for this discussion where we're going to deal with real issues. And there's an invitation made. This is how we properly move into conversation and try to avoid argument. Because what happens is that when you approach somebody with your complaining, right, and they weren't ready for it, they're caught off guard, they move right to the defense. The defenses rise. It's literally how we're designed to move into defense. Now you're in an argument. As opposed to, I wanted to talk to you about some things. When is a good time? And really walking carefully towards this towards this conversation to avoid an argument. I think that's different, because when we're complaining, it's like, you're always doing this, you never do that, you. When you want to approach somebody about some issues, it's actually a conversation that you can have, and your goal is to come to some kind of a resolution.
Absolutely.
Not argue.
And really, in addition to what you just said, it ties right into the very next point in terms of how to deal with differences, is you have to learn how to negotiate. Now, your question was, how do you deal with the complaint without complaining, or however you phrased it? But the point is, you do have to address the issue, as Danielle said, but then there's a pathway, a process that you go through. So we're here out of state, in another state, working with a couple, doing an intensive. This is day number 3. So I'm going to walk you through what happened on yesterday. There's an issue that they have, and so it's an issue that they've had for their entire marriage. And so they've spent countless hours and days and weeks and months complaining about the problem. So we took out a tool that we walked them through, which allowed them to quickly identify and clarify the issue. You have to clarify the issue, because have you ever been in an argument? I'm sure we have, where you've been arguing a couple hours later, days later, when all the emotions subside, you realize, wait, that's not even what I was talking about. I was talking about this, and you were talking about that. You're not even on the same page. So first you have to clarify exactly what the issue is. If you're talking about an apple, and you're talking about the skin, I'm talking about the seeds, we're talking about two different things. So we have to be clear. Now, once we clarify the issue, the problem, the rest of the 3 steps we took them through was very solution oriented. It only took 15 minutes. We literally helped them resolve an issue and 15 minutes that they have spent the last 6 years struggling with. And so that's the power. When you have the tools and the skills and the know-how, and you honor the rules of engagement when entering into this type of conversation, you win. But most of you on this show with us are very intelligent, very educated, you're very smart, and that can be a part of the problem. A lot of times when we provide people with tools, they outsmart the tool. They're like, oh, we don't need that. We already know what we need to do. All we need to do is just talk about it and figure it out. And now you're slipping into old ways, old patterns, and then you're getting the same old results. So last point, insanity is doing the same thing, but expecting the different results. So if you want something different, you've got to do the opposite of what you've always done. And the steps that we guide you through in an effective negotiation allows you to win.
Hey, okay, we got another comment. It says, are there any tricks of the trade in order to stop a habit of complaining or criticizing? In this negative world we live in, that's where we tend to gravitate towards negativities, complaining, criticizing. I don't want to do that to anyone I care about. I want to build people up. And you know, the truth is that there's a lot of people that gain a lot from criticizing. It's just, there's a reward. Everything that we do it for reward, right? So if me criticizing you somehow makes me feel better, then I'm going to do that. So it's really about that person understanding that fact that you're benefiting in some way. If it's you that wants to avoid critique, then you're in the power player seat. Like, you can avoid that by understanding the power of your words. The Bible says that you will give an account for every single word you say. Think about that. The fact that one day I'm going to have to give account for every word. So when you think about that, and then you think about the power of your words to actually manifest and create blessings in your life, and the power of your words to tear down and destroy somebody just through your words, that's power.
Yeah.
That would make anybody in their right mind, to me, not want to use them for harm. But you know, you have people out there that do.
Yeah, I think your point about benefiting is a good point, because sometimes we tear other people down so that we can feel good about ourselves. And then you got to check your motive. Why am I really critiquing? Do I look through a critical lens, period?
Right.
And I see the fault, the flaw, the issues in everything? Am I criticizing because I genuinely have a care for somebody else and I don't want them to turn down the wrong path and I want to make them better? Am I criticizing because I want them to be more like me? So yeah, you got to check your heart, because how you're benefiting from it may not be benefiting you ultimately, and certainly not that relationship.
Yeah, because it's running people away.
Absolutely.
People don't want to be around a critical person. They just don't. So now you're finding yourself lonely and people leaving your life because of this. And sometimes people just need to be made aware. This is how you're presenting yourself. And for some, that's enough to make them want to change. Frida also says, a friend finds it very challenging to deal with his wife's quirky personality. He says it's embarrassing and off-putting at times. He knew it before the marriage and says it has peaked. In other words, how do you deal with these quirky personalities when we're talking about differences in the marriage? And see, to me, that's the thing. It's like these differences in personalities. The person was like that when they came in the marriage, and now you want them to change. I think it's two things. I don't feel like just because this is who I am, I get to stay that way. Like, well, I am who I am, and that's it, and you need to deal with it. I think that throughout the course of our lives, all of us should be developing and becoming better versions of ourselves. So regarding that quirky personality, if that quirky personality that she has is a stumbling block in some way, is hindering her life in some way, is actually doing something wrong, I think that's something that she should work on. But if it's just a personality style, she's a bubbly person, she's a happy person, I think differences of personalities have to be dealt with. Yeah. I'm never going to be able, Hassan and I have such different personalities. He's a more serious person. I'm crazy and off the chain a little bit. I'm not going to make him be me. He's not going to make me be him. And I think there's some honoring that has to take place when it comes to our spouse's personality. For me, learning the Enneagram personality typing system was a huge help, because it allowed me to get a deeper understanding about Hassani's personality, and not necessarily what he does, but more so why he does what he does. And same with me. That understanding helped me to empathize and just allow him to be, right?
And I think we've said this before, but it bears repeating. The differences that you two have in a relationship actually could be more of a benefit than you may wonder. If you're exactly alike, like there may be nothing stopping you if you're going too far. Think about this. Think about a car. You're driving in a car, you have the gas pedal and you have the brake, right? Imagine if you had no brake. Well, eventually you're going to crash because all you have is a gas pedal. Imagine if you had no gas pedal and all you have is a brake. You don't go anywhere. So you need the differences, and you need to figure out how to make them complement and work together so that you can actually take a journey and get from one location to another. And there's certain things in your marriage where your spouse becomes your brake because that's exactly what you need. You were going too fast. Listen, I see something around the corner. Let's put the brake on that. We need to stop. And then vice versa. And so that is why you need to learn how to appreciate the differences that your spouse has. All right.
Facebook user has a powerful comment, I gotta say.
Okay.
It says, there's a reason why putting words together is called spelling. The root word is spell. Words have power. And that's so true. We gotta be careful the words we put on people when we're criticizing and negative. Those things go into us. And that's why you have children that were called names as a child still battling with those words in their minds as adults.
Absolutely. The next thing you have to do if you're going to work through these differences is talk about the differences. You know, the Bible says in Isaiah 1:18, it says, come now and let us reason together. And it's important that you can talk about these issues in a safe environment, a non-judgmental zone, because the more you talk about it, the more clarity, the more understanding. And when you're talking about it with a spirit of empathy, seeking to understand, not just be understood, it allows you to come to some place of understanding. You know, when we went through a particular course where we got a chance to learn about each other on a deeper level, I think it gave us a level of empathy and compassion. So some things that we struggle dealing with, we now have more of an understanding and an appreciation for, because we understood the why of certain things. And understanding the why behind the differences is critically important. And that only comes when you have healthy, effective communication to talk through these issues.
It's so important because the why, we all do the same things, you know? We all get angry, we all get sad, we all go through all these emotions, but for different reasons. When you're avoiding, you're doing it for one reason, I'm doing it for another. So this is why we get into these hypocrite battles. Like, you did the same thing, but because in our minds it's for a different reason, somehow we can always justify it.
The next point, and we got two more, we're going to wrap this up. Next point, determine to be respectful. Listen, in the midst of the difference, if it's like weighing heavy on you, if you're annoyed and frustrated about it, and you constantly release it and let your partner know when you're nagging and you're doing, listen, you have to be respectful, because if you coming at me wrong, I just shut down. Like, if you don't tone down, I'm going to tune out. Watch your energy, watch your tone, watch your face, watch your body, watch all of those different things, because you could wind up being off-putting. If you come in a loving way, if you have the right spirit behind you, I'm more open to receive what it is that you have to say. So if you're disrespectful, what you're doing is you're cementing the difference that you don't like into the marriage. Now, last point, and I hope this is helping. I hope this is helping, guys. Learn to accept. Listen, at the end of the day, you may want to fix certain things about your spouse, but there's certain things that you'll never be able to change. And I'm not talking about bad characteristics and bad behavior and just negative things, but I'm talking about the way a person is wired and who God created them to be. You can't do anything about that. And when you understand that, all things begin to change. Now, some of you are familiar, I would imagine most of you are familiar with the Serenity Prayer. Remember the Serenity Prayer? It simply says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Oh my God, and that's why they are calling it a prayer, because that's what you're gonna need, because I'm hearing folks in the back of my mind say, well, what if I'm doing all that, right? What if I'm being respectful? What if I am accepting? What if I'm literally walking on eggshells? And no matter what I say, how I say it, or do it, the person still doesn't understand where I'm coming from. We still are mixing signals. That's when it's time to pick up the phone and call Couples Academy for your free 15-minute discovery call. No joke, okay?
Absolutely.
Not even a selfish plug. Like, no joke, because sometimes we get to these impasses in our relationship and we are so frustrated, and honestly, it's the one thing that we zoom in on, right? We zoom in on those little idiosyncrasies, and that little thing is what could tear the whole relationship apart when there's actually a lot of good stuff. You've got some great seeds planted otherwise. There are other really great areas of your marriage, but this one piece, this communication piece, you just can't seem to speak the same language, see eye to eye, get through whatever conflict. Call Couples Academy. We'll help you work through those things.
Boom, there it is. I gotta acknowledge my cousin. Good to see you, cuz.
Good to see
She
you.
says differences can be a benefit. They absolutely can. It's really all about your perspective. When you begin to change the lens that you look through, you can either see these differences as a source of frustration, or you can realize actually this represents balance, the balance that we need to make this relationship work. Got a couple more comments?
Yeah. Okay, we got this one. How do you cope with the realization that your spouse uses your weaknesses by constantly complaining to justify doing whatever he wants to do, as opposed to helping fix them? I mean, that just goes back to somebody being stuck and complacent in their way. We do this in relationships. We look at our spouse's weaknesses. Well, she'll always forgive me, or he'll always forgive me, or he typically does this, so I'll just chill and do that and wait for him to come around. All these things that we do in relationships, it's a battle. It's almost like a battle of the sexes. That's why you need to reach out and get somebody to help mediate, because sometimes it's at a point where no matter what you say, your spouse is just not going to hear it from you.
That's real talk.
That's what mediation is for.
That is real talk.
Even though we try to get you to a point where you do recognize and understand that at some points your spouse is going to have to be your teacher. We have to learn from one another, because most of the situations that you encounter, they were the witness. They see you 360 degrees around. They're the closest ones to you. So when you get to an impasse in your relationship, it's time to call in some support. Call couplesacademy.org.
Call us.
Or log
Call
on to
us.
couplesacademy.org.
678-200-8996. You can go to the website at couplesacademy.org. These are the places where you can go to get the help that you need. Listen, just a couple quick announcements, and we'll be right back after this brief message. That's right, guys. That is what we're all about. I hope you saw some products there that you want. Perfect gifts for Christmas. We have a couple events. We've talked about this before we got started, but we actually have this last chance weekend. If you haven't signed up, what in the world are you waiting for?
Oh my God.
Let's get it, folks. Let's get it, folks. Listen, I hope you enjoyed today's show. We will be with you from our studio on tomorrow.
So glad.
So glad.
So
So
nice
you
to
can
get
actually
back
see us.
to our zone.
So guys, we love you,
Thank
and
you
we will
guys
see
for
you
joining
on
us.
tomorrow.
Bye.
Oh yeah, candles burning low, lots of mistletoe, lots of snow in our
and wish you a Merry Christmas, baby. Wish you a Merry Christmas, baby. Into the happiness in the coming year. Oh, baby, let's deck the hearts with holly. Sing sweet silent night. Fill the tree with angel hair. Pretty, pretty lights. Go to sleep and wake up just before daylight. And all these things and more, baby.
And we are here, guys. 23 days to go, and we're here on Christmas Day. We're doing a countdown every single day till we get there because that's what we're about. We're about the holidays. We're about celebration. I'm about them giving me my stuff. But today we're going to give you your stuff on the Couples Academy Show. My name is Asani.
I'm Danielle, and I'm so glad you want your stuff this year. Because like we said, he never wants anything. We're always figuring out, what are we going to get Dad? We don't want to look like a shame in front of him. But he keeps talking about this list he's got for us, so we don't know if we're ready for it. But we're excited that you're joining us here today. Thank you guys for joining us. We're here at our headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, and oh, how it feels so good to be back home.
It does.
You know, we got crazy traffic here in Atlanta, but it's just nothing like home, getting in your bed. I love my family, I love to see them, and I love to go. I mean, you know,
I know that's right.
I love my family.
And y'all know what time
You
it
know
is.
exactly what it is. But today, we want to share something with you really important that we got going on. Share it with us, Hassani.
We have our Cyber Week sale. All right, we
Yes.
were talking about it yesterday. So listen, right now you can go, there's a link in the description, the Cyber Week sale. You're going to be able to get 60% off of all of our digital products, The Audacity of Marriage, Black Thighs, Black Guys, and Bedroom Lies, Pimping from the Pulpit to the Pews, Why We Hate Black Women and Why We Should Love Them, 101 Ways to Love Your Husband, 101 Ways to Love Your Wife. Then we have that 7 Days of Extraordinary Sex book, How to Have a Successful Marriage, and Pillow Talk, 50 Questions of Extraordinary Sex, 60% off. You can go to Cash App and just send $39.95. That is the $$ Hassani Pettiford, or you'll find the link right in the description. What a perfect gift. Books are a great gift because it's a gift that keeps on giving. And you know, we have December the 11th through the 13th. It is our last chance weekend. I'm so excited because people are signing up from all over the country. We have, actually, I meant to say the world. Australia, Canada, all throughout the United States. It's not too late. We have a week and some change to go. Sign up, register. If you have questions, reach out to us. We would love to have you be a part of this amazing transformational experience that will take your relationship to the next level.
I'm so excited that people all over the world want to be trailblazers for marriage, because we talk about this all the time. I didn't really come up in a household where there was a positive example of marriage. I had to fight. I had to read. I had to learn, work on self-development. There was so much that I had to do to get right here where we are.
That's right.
So to hear other people all over the world, different cultures, different beliefs and religions, are all joining us for this amazing event, this last chance weekend. For some of them, it really is a last chance assignment. Like, it's either, you know, this or bust. So if that's you, make sure you get in. It's not too late. But we're excited about today's topic because we're going to talk about making the choice to heal. Join us now.
So during the holidays, this is the time where most people, not most, a lot of people are struggling because everybody's happy. Tis the season to be jolly, but people have some real issues, some real concerns. It may be the loss of a family member who's no longer there to celebrate with you. It may be the loss of the love that you once had in a relationship with a child, with a sibling, with a parent. But when you're married to someone who you're disconnected with, when it seems as though there's no hope for the future, you can't see beyond today, and you've been trapped and soaked and saturated in your pain, that's not a good place to be when the world is celebrating, giving gifts, expressing love, everyone's partying. But then on top of that, during this pandemic, there's a sense of social isolation which reinforces that negative feeling that you're operating in. So we want to talk about that today.
Yeah, I want you guys to get your pen and paper out because, you know, there's this book that has been transformational. As you can see, it's kind of abused because we've been going through this for a couple of years now, but it's really been transformational for my clients, and they are quite a few of my clients are reading this book right now, and it's an anchor for them when it comes to understanding how to heal. The book is called Healing is a Choice. It's by Stephen Otterburn. It comes with a workbook, and it's just really been transformational. And when I think about some of the conversations I have daily with these ladies who are in that position, they're married, they want to fight and push through some of the things that have occurred in their marriage, but they're stuck. Excuse me, they're stuck in pain, and they want to figure out how to move on. It's not that they want to be there, but they just haven't figured out how to navigate through it. And this book has really helped get them grounded and know what to do. So I thought we should share this with our audience at large, because I know there's so many other people that they want to forgive, they want to move on, but for some reason they keep going back and they're still stuck in the pain.
Stuck in that trap, and the trap or the pattern or the cycle, it's the crazy cycle, and it's the slippery slope that leaves you in a horrible place. So let's talk about how to break free.
So we have choices here, and this is what it is. I find that a lot of people, depending on the type of personality that you have, would much rather make it all about what the other person did, so that the onus is never on them to take any responsibility for their life. And that's a big statement, what I just said, because the fact is that we know we're going to go through things in life. It's not if, but when.
That's right.
And when we go through those things, how do we respond? How do we react? Do we allow those things to settle like sediments in our spirit, so that everywhere we go and everyone we encounter, they know what you've been through based on your attitude, based on your faith. I'll never forget a picture that I saw of a woman who she had wrinkles, deep wrinkles in her face. Everything was hanging, and the caption was talking about somebody who was living in agony and pain, because you could see that her life had literally been written into her face, the misery. And why live that life when you can get some of that stuff out? So it talks about 10 truths about your choice to heal, and 10 lies that we tell ourselves, which I think we'll get into a great dialogue about. So the first choice is the choice to connect to your life. Okay? And the first lie is that all I need to heal is just God and me. I think that's a powerful first point, because what we do when we get into pain a lot of times is we isolate. We disconnect, we shut down, and we say, all I need is me and Jesus. We cut our friends off, our family off, the person that hurt us off. Everybody is cut. And we have no interest in stepping out because we're so wounded, the fear of being wounded again. And God won't wound you. So you think all I need is God and me, and it's not true.
It's a huge mistake, because God created a system, and a part of that system is a community. The Bible talks about how you should seek wise counsel, and wisdom is found through other people who have possibly been where you are. See, the question is, who do you listen to? You listen to people who have what you want and have been where you are. So if you're in a pit, talk to somebody who got out, because they can help you get out. So yes, you want the Spirit of God, but you want the principles and the system that He put in place to help you find your healing.
And the thing is, connecting to your life and not just relying on God means actually pulling those other folks in your life closer to you to support you. If you're isolating and you don't have anybody to talk to bounce things off of, to actually release, going through hurt and pain and that grieving process is very much necessary. It is absolutely necessary to cry. It is absolutely necessary to talk it out and be able to lean on somebody else's shoulder. But when you isolate and refuse to feel your life and just literally shut yourself down and think God is going to be, unfortunately, when we say prayers, God doesn't just say, boom, you need some money, drop it from the heavens, Oh, you need a friend? Drop a person from, you need a husband? I'm going to make him and drop it from the sky. Nothing gets dropped from the sky. He uses us.
That's right.
We are His conduits, and so if you block everybody out of your life, you will never be able to experience the manifestation of God in your life.
And let me just talk about this, because you just mentioned when we pray, we have these expectations, but God has an expectation when you pray, and that's to pray in faith. A lot of us are so fearful. A lot of us are full of doubt and pessimism and negativity, and apathy, that as soon as the prayer is over, the negative thoughts start coming, and we start doubting the very thing that we're hoping for.
Yeah.
And so the reality is, not only do you pray when you actually get on your knees and communicate with God, but every word you speak is a prayer.
Yeah.
So you got to be mindful to think the right way, to talk the right way, to operate in what it is that you want so that you can get the healing you want.
So when it comes to connecting to your life, seek out counsel, go to church, get into communities where you can get around folks that can support you and pull you out of where you're at.
Absolutely. Lorraine has a comment. She says, my husband is so remorseful. He had an affair 9 years ago, or a 9-year affair, excuse me, but she can't heal from that. Well, listen, you're tuning in on the right day at the right time, because we're going to talk to you about what you need to do to find that healing.
So the next one is the choice to feel your life. And the lie that we tell ourselves, especially as Christians, is that real Christians should have a real peace in all circumstances. And you know, if you read your Bible, you know that that's really just not true. I always think about how when Jesus saw all those folks peddling their goods in the church, how he had righteous indignation that rose up in him. He was knocking over tables. Jesus wasn't no punk now.
He was no punk
and
at all.
he did not have peace in that moment. And so for
you know
us,
that song, Try Jesus, but Don't Try Me?
Yes!
Don't try Jesus either.
don't try
'Cause he-
Jesus either. But at the end of the day, what we know is that suppressing our emotions and our feelings is a no. You actually can't do that. Your body is not designed to do that. What you can do is you can not acknowledge it, right, and try to stuff it down, but it comes out in different ways, explosive ways. I say this all the time. Just because you don't see the lava shooting out of the volcano doesn't make it any less a volcano. The lava is still there boiling, getting hot. The plates are still moving. And so when we refuse to feel our life and feel the emotions, and we suppress it and we ignore it just to get by, just to move on. We do this a lot of times when we just are in adrenaline mode, right? In the beginning, when there's a shock, and we find something out, we don't know what to do yet, we say, do nothing.
That's right.
But at some point, you have to get into the details and deal with it, feel it, so you can accept it and move on.
And feeling it means self-awareness, right? You want to operate in self-awareness, because to your point, Danielle, when you push it down and shove it down and suppress it, you're trying to make the feeling go away, but it doesn't mean that the toxicity and the hurt is gone. Like, we give this example all the time. You know, if you have a bad headache, people tell you to take, I don't know, Tylenol to suppress the pain. If you have a runny nose, take Mucinex or something to suppress the mucus, right? If you have a bad cough, take some throat lozenges to suppress the cough. And so you think, okay, symptoms are gone, the sickness must be gone as well. But no, the sickness is possibly lying dormant within you.
Yeah.
You haven't gotten rid of it at all. But until you begin to fully experience it, then you become consciously aware, okay, I need to do something to get past this. Because who wants to live in permanent pain?
Right. We've actually sat in front of couples that one spouse, I just don't want to know. I just don't want to hear it. I just want to move on, right? A toxic concoction of choices, because you can't move on, because our brains are designed to close loops. And if you don't close those loops, then your brain is designed to create the answers for you. And so this is where triggers come into play. Like, I didn't want to know, so now I'm creating a story in my own mind. I'm closing the loop myself about what happened. The answer is to actually get into a process, a controlled process, where if you are the offending partner, you actually have someone, a mediator, to help and assist you as you reveal the truth, and if you are the hurt partner, to help you understand and decipher what has been said to you, so that you can deal with it, face it, and release it. It's important to ask those questions, isn't it? Like,
Absolutely.
when we go through that discovery process, talk about how important it is to discover.
Yeah, discovery is critically important, because you're right. When you don't have the missing pieces, you don't have all the pieces to the puzzle, your mind is going to try to create what makes logical sense, and you could be way off, and now you are in pain, and you're hurt, and you're in unforgiveness with your partner over what you put together, what you piecemeal together.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's, number one, important to receive the information.
Yes.
And for the other partner, it's important to give it. Like, some people don't like giving information because they themselves wouldn't want to receive it. And they're projecting their issues on their partner.
Good
and
point.
maybe for some, you struggle because hearing the truth it's going to hurt, harm, and hinder. But for your partner, hearing the truth is actually going to help heal. It's going to make sense of things. And if you're the one struggling with identifying and hearing the truth because it's going to hurt, harm, and hinder, it's how the truth comes out. See, it's about being responsible in your honesty when you're having this full disclosure conversation, whatever it may be. But here's the deal. We say this all the time. Not knowing the truth can create a permanent pain because now you're left wondering, right? But the truth also hurts.
Yes.
But the truth also heals.
Yes, and sets you free.
So I'd rather have a temporary hurt in knowing the truth because I'm going to go through a healing process than a permanent hurt by not knowing.
Yes.
You see?
Yes, thank you for that. The third one is the choice to investigate your life in search of truth. And the third lie, it does no good to look back or look inside. What a lie. I think about when we were on our journey and we went through that process of mirroring and learning how, what I brought into the marriage and what he brought into the marriage. I realized the power of literally holding the proverbial mirror up in front of myself and looking at myself. Like, you came from some serious brokenness. Did you think you came out unscathed? You didn't. None of us did. I think the difference is when you are willing to see it and recognize it, look at it, and then have some growth, you can actually get yourself back to close to what God's original intention was. But when we decide it does no good to look at what happened or the past or dig it up, it's actually moving into a place of denial.
It is. And a lot of us are completely oblivious because we refuse to look. But to your point, Danielle, when you take the time to look deep within yourself, when you're going through those mirroring exercises, and when you have people who love you and want the best for you, who are in close proximity to you, who will tell you what they see. You know, we say this all the time, your spouse is your mirror. So in addition to looking at yourself, you need somebody close who you're open to receive what it is they have to say, because we all have blind spots. And you'll never get better, and you'll never heal, and you'll never move forward until you take an honest assessment of who you are and where you're at.
Easier said than done, is it? And that's one thing that we do is we create the environment to be able to do that. One thing that I always say when I'm doing my Enneagram assessments with a couple is this is not your opportunity to beat down your partner based on their idiosyncrasies and issues. The truth is that we both have idiosyncrasies and issues to deal with, which means we're on the same playing ground. So the openness that is necessary, the lack of defensiveness that gets shut down in those environments that allows a person to be authentic and true and transparent is key.
Absolutely.
Like if I need you to be my mirror and be able to tell me about me, I need to feel like it's a safe place. Like I'm not going to see this, I'm not going to have this thrown back into my face next year or next week or when we get the car, you know, that we are both being transparent enough to be able to see into us, which is intimate.
But if I become your judge and I'm pointing out every flaw, every fault, every idiosyncrasy, now you don't feel safe, and it's just like, forget it. And that's where the breakdown begins to occur. So it's important that we say, listen, there's a couple comments I want to hit them. Yours truly, Shani, says, I'm an overthinker and almost everything triggers me. I guess that's if forgiveness for me more so than my partner, but I forgave so many times before, I think that he should suffer some heat now. Is that bad?
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? It's interesting because the Bible says vengeance is mine, right?
Saith the Lord. Saith,
but that doesn't
saith
change
the Lord. That's the King James Version.
Right, but that doesn't change how we actually really feel here on this physical plane, right? For you to feel that he deserves to feel some he deserves to feel some pain because I keep forgiving. I think that is where we start to misunderstand what true forgiveness actually is. So I'm kind of trying to isolate your feeling, which many could say is justified. That doesn't make it necessarily right, but people might say, okay, it's justified, you know, tit for tat. That's in the Bible too, right? Well, the truth is that when you move into forgiveness, you exonerate the other person. Forgiveness is actually giving somebody a gift that they do not deserve. And that's what true forgiveness is. So when we begin to walk in that, and work on that, then we will actually move away from this feeling of they should feel some heat, because now we put the onus on God, because it's his vengeance, it's his lesson, his son who has to get the lesson taught.
Now, the Bible also talks about wisdom, right? And that your house should be built by wisdom. And so if we talk about that, we're talking about principles and having a principle-centered life. If you're constantly, having to forgive your spouse either for the same thing, because he did it again, and he did it again, and he did it again, and I'm both of the fool because I keep forgetting and he keeps hurting. No. Well, now you need to create proper boundaries within the confines of your marriage. We talk about having a relational code of ethics, or laws and principles and guidelines and parameters that protect the integrity of the relationship. And guess what? If violations continue to happen, there should be some punishment reward system within the confines of your relationship. Otherwise, if you don't have that level of wisdom and principles to govern your relationship, then you're always going to have these type of issues. And that's what happens. You have one person that's always hurt, one person that's always offended, because you haven't put proper fundamental principles in place by which you should live your marriage. So I would say it's worthy of having another conversation. And guess what? Having somebody that guides you through a process to talk about how to have the foundations for a healthy relationship where continual violations don't continue.
It's about boundaries, people. I mean, we're not here to be a doormat and have somebody run all over you, up and down, back and forth, right? However, there are some cases where you will never ever get that person to do right, and it's still, as you stated, sis, on you. It's your responsibility. Forgiveness is for you, and you want to make sure that you get that at all costs. The fourth one here is the choice to heal your future. We have the choice. The lie, time heals all wounds. Okay, let's just talk about that, because we know, everybody knows somebody who is anchored to an offense that happened 30 years ago. You know what? You probably encountered Auntie such and such at Thanksgiving this last week, where she's still talking about back when you were 5 years old, what somebody did to you. And so we know that time absolutely does not heal all wounds, especially when you've literally dropped an anchor there, so that no matter what you do in life, you can always point to, this is why I'm the way that I am. Did you know that that happened to me? This is why I can't move on. This is why I have never made anything of my life. This is why I overeat when I get nervous. This is why, this is why, this is why. And so you've anchored yourself in the pain, and you actually have to make the choice to heal your future. And by doing that, that means I've got to get my healing here, which is some of the other things we were talking about, facing the pain, dealing with the issue, lift that anchor and set it on a new course for your future. If you're anchored to past hurts, that's always where you're going to go back to.
And what you're saying ultimately is, in order to have a healthy future, then you've got to reconcile your past. We time travel every single day, right here in our minds, because our minds are records of the past and roadmaps into the future. So if all I'm processing and thinking about and meditating and vacillating and ruminating in is a horrible past, I now begin to anticipate a negative future, because all I'm doing is I'm trapped in an emotion and in a feeling based upon something that happened last night, last month, last year, 10 years ago, and I can't get beyond that feeling. So when I'm feeling bad, I carry that feeling with me into my future, and if I have these negative feelings that I'm bringing into my future, because I'm a magnet, I begin to pull other situations and circumstances into my life that reinforce the negative feeling that I have within me. So the only way to have a healthy future is to become present, to take advantage of the present moment, and to make sure that every single day is your best day. Because the reality is, tomorrow, you really never experience it. The moment you step into tomorrow, it becomes today. So all you have is the present moment. So what can I do to make the most of my present day? How can I have the best life today? That will ensure a healthy future.
Absolutely. The next one is making the choice to help your life. The lie, I can figure this out on my own. And guess what, folks? This is why we are here. We realized years ago we could not figure things out on our own. We needed to find a source of support. we always said we used to look 360 degrees around us, looking for a couple. Can we go to this couple? Do they know the way? And we found one couple that was a great example visually of what love looked like, and somebody who could go through trials and errors and everything and still come out loving each other and not blaming each other. And so we thought, you know what, there's gotta be a recipe to this thing called marriage. There's gotta be more. Like, what did we sign up for if that's all we are getting out of it is negativity and criticism and hurt and pain and all of these things? What is it? And so we realized that we needed to get the help for our lives.
Absolutely. Jaguar Danielle says, I've genuinely tried to forgive and move on, but my husband's repeated affairs and lies has created a callus on my heart, and I've hit the reset button over and over. Now I'm terrified to trust again. And that's exactly where a lot of you find yourself. In fact, another comment just came in that says, my husband had a 9-year affair too. I need help. And then Jaguar says, I feel you. So a lot of people are going through this pain. And so the reality is you've made the decision to stay. But the question is, how do you want to stay? Do you want to stay like this? Do you want to continue to be trapped in this pain? Do you want to continue to be haunted by the ghosts of the past? Do you want to continue to have this level of trauma that you live with every single day? I don't think you do. And so listen, showing up every single day and listening to us as we have this broadcast is the start of your journey. But you've got to take this thing to the next level. And what you got to do is you got to reach out to us. Listen, you don't have to do this alone. There's a community of individuals that are getting the help that they need, and they've reached out to Couples Academy. Now, we're not the end all to be all. There are many qualified, great people out there, and if you want to find somebody else, find somebody. But we are here for you. So reach out to couplesacademy.org, set up a discovery call, and that's why we're doing this Last Chance Weekend, because the pain and the hurt that you're harboring, we want that to go away. I'm assuming you want it to go away too. But sometimes, Danielle, think about being physically sick and you're drained and you're tired and you're in the bed. Like, the aspirin's right there, you have a bad headache, but you don't even have the energy within you to reach over and grab that bottle. And some of you are in that place, you're just tired, and you're sick and tired of being tired. And I'm telling you that there's something in you. All you need to do is make the decision. We're talking about a choice to heal, a decision to heal. It all starts with the power of choice. And when you make that choice, then allow us to meet you halfway to get you the healing that you ultimately want.
Powerful, powerful. We got one more for this show, and it's called, number 6, The Choice to Embrace Your Life. And the lie, if I just act as if there's no problem, it will finally go away. And we know that that's not true.
Not at all.
Even though for some folks, it's just so much easier to avoid conflict, confrontation, not say anything. You've said things 1,000 times, nothing has changed. So you tend to just stick your head in the sand and avoid. And we know that when we pull our head up out of the sand, sometimes things are 10 times worse than when we stuck our head in the sand. So what we want to do is we want to make the choice to heal our lives. Get yourselves into some good, solid counseling. Reach out to us. Sign up for the Last Chance Weekend. For many of you, this is the last chance. I've heard many people say, you know what, by the end of this is the year. The end of the year, if things don't turn around, I'm out. The end of the year, if he don't start doing this or if she don't start doing that. The truth is that you have all the authority and all the power to do the first step to make a change in your relationship. Reach out to Couples Academy. We're here to support.
Listen, we'll be right back after this quick commercial break. See you in a second.
There is an epidemic in our world today concerning marriage. It's not divorce, although that's bad. It's not infidelity, although it's on the rise. The epidemic we are talking about regarding marriage is ignorance. Millions of people are getting married each year, and they have no idea what to do to make the marriage flourish and grow. And we know that God has a place in our marriage. But what does that look like? Whether you've been married for a day, a year, or decades, be assured that there is hope and help for you today that will turn your marriage in the right direction. These well-known relationship experts and authors have devoted their lives to helping couples not only survive the rough patches, but thrive and bloom into something more beautiful than before. You're invited to call now for their book, The Audacity of Marriage, and learn how to overcome common challenges couples face. You'll also receive the DVD series titled The Before, During, and After of an Affair. 3 crucial messages on one DVD dealing with the topic of infidelity and how to prevent it. In addition, you and your spouse will also enjoy individual DVD messages by Hassani and his wife, Danielle. The Marriage Mastermind, The Power of Partnership, teaches how to use the law of agreement to manifest God's best in your life. And Copreneurship, Partnering in Passion and Profit, explores the issues of couples working together at home and work successfully. All of this for a love gift of only $59.99. But that's not all. Hassani and Danielle would like to personally invite you to join them at one of their many nationwide Audacity of Marriage conferences. When you call right now, you will receive 2 tickets valued at $200 each, free. Remember, in almost every marriage, there is a partner suffering from ignorance, and your gift of this book may be just what they need to save their relationship. Call now and get back to the joy of your marriage together. Operators are standing by.
Yes, there it is. If you haven't gotten your books, if you haven't gotten your CDs or your MP3s, here's the time to do it. You can find the healing that you want, and we have resources that will help you. And on that note, guys, as we end our show, take advantage of this Cyber Week. 60% off. Go to it right now. It's only $39.95. Normally it would be $100.
And it expires Friday at 12:30, guys. So don't miss out on this opportunity. Get it today.
Click the link. It's in the description, or just go to Cash App and just send $39.95 to $ Hassani Pettiford. Put your email in there, and we will get it right to you. Guys, we love you. We hope that you got something out of the show today, and we will see you tomorrow. I know there's questions here. We will get to your questions tomorrow, but we've got to go. Have an amazing day. See you guys.
Oh yeah, candles burning low, lots of mistletoe, lots of snow and ice, everywhere we go. Choir singing carols right outside my door. All these things and more. All these things and more. That's what Christmas means to me, my love. That's what Christmas means to me, my love. Yeah. And you know what I mean. I see your smiling face like I never seen before. Even though I love you madly, it seems I love you more. The little card you give me will touch my heart for sure. All these things and more, darling. All these things. Oh, that's what Christmas means to me, my love. That's what Christmas means to me, my love. I feel like running wild. As anxious as a little child. Greet you neath the mistletoe. Kiss you once and then some more. And wish you a Merry Christmas, baby. Wish you a Merry Christmas, baby. Into the happiness in the coming year. Oh, baby, let's deck the hearts with holly. Sing sweet silent night. Fill the tree with angel hair. Pretty, pretty lights. Go to sleep and wake up just before daylight. And all these things and more, baby.
Good morning. It's another great morning. It's another great morning. Check it out, check it out. Here we go. We gonna start this show right now. I got a flow. I just don't want to expose it yet because I don't think you all are ready for that. Good morning, everyone. This is Couples Academy.
Good
We're
morning.
the Couples Academy show. My name is Hassan.
And I'm Danielle.
And there's 25 days till Christmas. I'm ready. I feel like the kid is being reborn within me because I'm ready for this.
Awesome.
Like, typically, I don't know what I want for Christmas, but I think,
You actually, he never knows
I
what
never
he wants
know.
for Christmas. It's always a thing every year. And the kids always want to know. And it's like, get him a book because he'll always want a book. And we really struggle to find things for him. But I think we're going to actually get an ass this year. We may not be ready for it. We might all have to dive in together and figure it out.
I'm just saying, it's going to be a good Christmas.
But I'm excited. I'm excited for the holidays in general. It's just time when we get together with family. We just finished up Thanksgiving, and we're on a 25-day track to health before we
Yes.
blow it all again
Yes.
for the holidays. But I know that you guys feel the same and you enjoyed your holiday. Thank you for joining us today. I just want to welcome a couple of people and say hello to Steven and Granville and Frazier, Rachel, hey, Cassia, hey, LaShawn, Darlene, Anthony, everybody. Thank you for joining us early. We're really excited about today's topic. We're going to discuss a couple of things, but before we do that, we have an announcement going.
So many of you have been reaching out to us through email, through phone, through text.
Oh, yes.
And you've been asking questions about the Last Chance Weekend. Once again, guys, it is coming up December the 11th through the 13th. Somebody actually pulled a retreat that we did from 5 years ago around this time. I don't even know how they found it. And they thought that was the retreat. Remember we did the retreat in Florida? And it was amazing. We had a website for it. That is not it. This
Amelia
is not,
Island.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
This is not a retreat, folks. This is a group intensive. It's the Last Chance Weekend. It's virtual. It's from the comfort of your own home. 8 hours a day. Deep dive group therapy. It's going to be insightful, impactful,
Yeah, and group
transformational.
therapy to me is so much better. It really was the catalyst for our marriage. We've done a lot of things alone. When we did the group therapy, it was majorly transformational because we actually got to have a bird's eye view into so many other couples, and it wasn't like it was exposing. It was a group session where we were all learning together, and you got a chance to glean from other couples and say, you know what, some of this stuff I'm okay with, and some other stuff I need to work on. It's powerful. We are doing this December 11th through the 13th. You don't want to miss this opportunity.
At all. But today's topic.
Today we are talking about should I stay or should I go? And I think it's a perfect topic to lead into that weekend. We'll
Let's
see you
get
soon.
it. All right, should I stay or should I go? That's the question that people are asking, particularly in December, because it is right before the beginning of a new year. And people are like, I don't know if I want to go into this new year the way that I've had this existing year or previous years. I've been stuck. I felt trapped. It's like, remember that movie, Groundhog's Day? Every day feels like the same day.
Yes.
And I just don't want this for my life
And you
anymore.
think you've tried it all, you've done it all, but a lot of times you really have only tried to do what you know to do. And it speaks to we don't know what we don't know, do we? Right? How many times have you tried to bake a cake without the recipe? Disaster, right? You don't know if it overflows, gets too big, explodes inside the oven, or it just goes flat because there was some ingredients missing. And we want to talk to you about that so that you can make sound decisions, because saying should I go, should I stay or should I go, this is a life decision. This is
It
not
is.
something that you want to take lightly.
It
So we
is.
want to dive into some of those details.
So I think what you said was key. You said, is it a sound decision? Meaning that you are in your right mind. And a lot of times we are in our emotions and we are not in our right mind, and we're making lifelong permanent decisions based upon temporary emotional or mental conditions. And so, for instance, a lot of times when people have reached their breaking point and they're like, you know what, I'm done. A lot of times they do that out of either anger or frustration, and they just can't take it anymore. Sometimes we can be hasty. Sometimes we can make decisions based upon how we feel. And it's not necessarily the right decision to make, because when those emotions subside, oftentimes you think and feel different. And that's why we say, listen, when you're drenched and soaked and saturated in emotions, the best decision that you could ever make about whether you should stay or go is to make no decision at all, because whatever decision you make, you're going to regret. So if you're struggling with anger or rage or any type of strong emotion, please push pause and don't do it yet. Another thing to consider, Danielle, a lot of times people determine whether they should stay or go, but they're trapped, soaked, and saturated in fear. And so they're thinking, well, okay, well, if I leave, what are the consequences if I leave? You know?
These are the reasons why people overlook major issues. We were talking about this just before the show, like molestation and abuse and things of that nature, where that you just literally broke every contract and there needs to be a solution immediately, and people will stick their head in the sand about things because of fear. How will I survive on my own? You know, how will I take care of all these kids? What am I going to do by myself? So you have all these fears, false evidence appearing real, that you allow to be the fear wall that keeps you from making sound decisions.
And depending upon how long you've been married and how old you are, oftentimes is a major factor into that decision.
Yes, age for sure. Because
Right.
you think about an older woman, right, who has been with their spouse, or man who's been with their spouse for so long. And you know what? Long gone are the days of the romance. You know, it's more of a partnership. We look after each other, we take care of each other. And so even when there are offenses and terrible things happening in a relationship, you might overlook it because of the fear of being alone.
There it is.
Yeah.
And then another thing to consider is, wait a minute, am I in any way a part of this problem? Like, real talk, I know it is so easy to look outward because our eyes look outward and we can see the faults and the flaws and the idiosyncrasies of our spouse, and we could all day long focus on what we don't like and why it's not working. But at the end of the day, do I play a part? And my decision to leave, is it based upon 100? Now, you know what's interesting, Daniel? Oftentimes, we hear this all the time. 95% of the problem is my spouse. 95%? Like really 95%. See, to me, that lets me know that something's off and you're not living in reality, right? Because there's no way your spouse could be responsible for 95%. So do you self-assess? Do you take a look at you? And if you haven't, do that before you decide to leave, because your spouse in your mind is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a few things that we can consider before we make a big decision like this. I talked to women who are on the fence, they're back and forth. They love their spouse, however, he just won't do right. He just won't get right. Or he keeps making promises and commitments that he cannot keep. And so you're up and you're down, but you know, there's some good things about him though. He's a good man, he's a good father, he's a good provider. So you're back and forth and you're not sure what to do. And so there are some questions that you can begin to ask yourself before you jump into these decisions that will transform not only your life, but I mean, this is a generational thing. You know, broken marriages and divorce, this goes to the generations, right? Now
Absolutely.
your children are affected, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren are affected by their brokenness. So we want to make sure that we're making these decisions sound. And again, I cannot say enough that we never want to make these decisions in a silo by ourselves without some sound counsel. You just don't want to do it. So number one, leaving the relationship before determining what doesn't work and why. And that just speaks to people becoming hasty, right? You get angry, you get into an argument, and all bets are off. I'm done, I'm out. You haven't really counted the cost. You haven't really mapped anything out. It's really empty words that you're saying. Even if there's some reality to the need to get out or to have some type of controlled separation, you just making a quick flash decision, that's just emotionalism.
Absolutely, and it's the last thing you want to do, because too much is at stake. I mean, especially if there are children involved. You know, children are impacted by every single thing you do, and there could be lifelong effects of everything. So you want to make sure that you have wise counsel when you do these things.
Absolutely. Number two, believing that if it was the right relationship, then it would be easier. So that speaks to, you know, the grass is always greener on the other side. You know, you look over at other people's relationships. People look over into our relationships all the time, and they're like, oh, I'll never forget, way back in the day, our pastors, the first lady would say, y'all think Pastor such and such is all that in a bag of chips, and he's not. Y'all don't even know, because we admire what we're looking at across the stage, across the room, right? And we don't know the nuances. So we believe, man, if I was in a relationship with this person,
That's right.
if I was only in relationship with Hassani, everything would be perfect.
It really would.
Right? See, that's what
It
you
would
think.
be phenomenal.
That's
for
what you think, and that's the problem. But it's not true. Really, what it is it's other people in their relationship working out their issues, covering their issues, hiding their stuff, just like you are.
And you know, you said something. They think, well, if the relationship is meant to be and it's good, it should be easy. But nothing in life, to me, that's worth having has ever been easy. It may be simple in terms of, okay, if you do these things, boom, things will work. But it's never easy. It takes work. Everything that you've ever accomplished took work, took a financial level of status. It took work.
Yes.
Everything takes work.
And
so why do
sacrifice.
we think
I like
that,
the word sacrifice even better. I mean, there was a sacrifice. So why do we think?
that the things should just be easy when it comes to
Right.
relationships or matters of the heart? No, it takes even more work, because guess what? With your career, you had some training. With your education, you had some learning. With your career goals, you had a map built out for you in terms of what to do. But most people are clueless when it comes to relationships and don't know what to do. But yet it should just be easy? Absolutely not.
It's
Put
a
in that
shame.
work.
It's a shame we don't have more strong, solid training at the beginning. I know so many people that went through premarital counseling and they're just as lost as two left shoes still. We went through premarital counseling. It really takes a lot more. It takes continued education. That's the key. Continued education in your marriage. That will help you with a strong foundation.
Let me hear what this comment says. It says, we have people say that marriage is work, but I don't think we can effectively verbalize just how hard it can be, staying and working as if it takes way more balls than balling, okay? It does take work. It's a lot of work. And if you're not willing to put in the work, then guess what? You're not going to get the return on the investment because you didn't invest anything.
I think it's the reason why God created whatever the euphoria is that we feel when we first meet, where if we touch hands, it's like, ooh, you know, and we just can't even stand being close to each other. We're just drawn like magnets pulling each other, right? I think God created it that way so that we're drawn to one another, because could you imagine if the way you feel 10 years later is the way you felt the day you met? Like, after all the work and the energy and the drain and the strain that it takes to bring two people together as one, God didn't want you to be discouraged, so he gave you that in love euphoric feeling. So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with thinking that it's supposed to always be that way. If I don't feel that anymore, then I've fallen out of love and something's wrong. No, that's not having a willingness to work and do what is necessary to have the relationship that you say that you want.
And if you're going to be willing to do what's necessary, you have to push pause. We have a comment here that says, I'm definitely a runner. Well, guess what? Stop running.
Oh,
There's
wow.
so many people who are in relationships that anytime anything goes wrong, they already have a bag virtually or mentally packed at the front door waiting to cut and run, right? Always throwing the D word out, divorce. Always threatening to leave.
Using it as
Anytime
a
there's
curse word.
anything that doesn't go well, I'm out of here. And so that's not going to solve your problem. And what we realize is that people who actually do that, it's just a tactic. They're using it as a form. Now, this may not be you, but a lot of times when people do that, I'm leaving. If you don't get this together, then I'm still trying to figure out if I want to be with you. A lot of times it's used for control.
Try to get a rise out of the person.
And to win an argument and to get your way. And so remove the tactics, remove this knee-jerk reaction to cut and run, and put in that work and get it done.
Number 3, thinking if we haven't found a solution by ourselves, then it doesn't exist. And that goes back to the point. You don't know what you don't know. You have never cooked a cake without the recipe. It is flat. It is flopping. Something's not working. It tastes bitter. Too much baking soda. It's just off. You need to get yourself into some sound counseling so somebody can guide you through a process that actually works.
Absolutely. There's no other thing to state about that. Find some help, folks.
Okay.
And find some help with people who really have, not every marriage counselor wants to save a marriage. Some marriage counselors, as soon as they hear anything that they perceive as negative, well, you need to leave. You need to get up out of there because that's crazy. And then that guiding you through a process to help you make the decision. See, the decision shouldn't come from us. It has to come from within you, but the process we take you through makes it crystal clear as to what it should be.
We got some comments in there. Let's jump into those.
Yeah, so if you keep doing